Welcome back to Factory Sealed. It is July 15th, 2018. My name's Eric Peterson. Joining me today, Mr. Dan Curtis.
You alright?
All right.
You alright?
You all right?
You alright? You alright, Mike Tyson? You alright?
Mike Tyson's here.
Now then.
What?
Now then.
You went completely the wrong way.
Say now then. You alright? Now then.
The hell's that even mean?
That's what they say in some place, isn't it? Alright, now then.
Now then.
Now then, yeah. You alright? Now then? How you doing?
It is a greeting into North.
What?
Yeah.
That's right.
What does it mean?
It just means hello.
Yeah. You alright? Now then?
Most of the shit I could
it's
wrap
when
my
you're
head
too
around.
cool for school and you don't want to say hello, so you just go, now then. Now then.
Now then.
Now then.
But it can also be a bad thing, like, now then, what's going on here?
Hello,
See, I can
hello,
understand that.
What's all going on here then? Now then.
The worst thing about these strange greetings in the UK is a lot of people go, alright, and you never know if people are greeting you or asking you how you are.
Yeah.
So someone will go, alright, and you go, yeah, I'm good, thank you. And they'll go, oh.
It's just completely disinterested.
Yeah, wasn't asking how I was.
It took me a while to get used to...
That's really common across the world. I think, don't you guys do that, Eric? Ask people how they are, but don't really want to know how they are. And just
Oh, yeah, you absolutely don't want to know. But then you get the occasional person who's like, oh, God, finally someone wants to know how I am. And they just dive into their life story. And you're like, I don't give a shit.
If you must know, I am absolutely shite. Thank you.
I have a massive hemorrhoid.
Now then, you've got a massive hemorrhoid.
It took me a while to get used to with Tom, though, because his greeting was always like, you all right? Like, okay? Because that's different than, hey, how are you? Like, that's just our colloquial greeting. When you're like, when you ask someone here, like, are you all right? It's like genuine concern. Like, you look disheveled. Are you all right?
Yeah, no, that's what I mean. That's what I'm referencing. But loads of people here go, you alright?
You all
Just as a
right?
greeting. Nah, that's from Dan's part of the world.
That is from my part of the world.
Het?
It's just easier all round, guys, if you just say rally ho to everybody. All right?
Yeah. Or ahoy hoy. I'm a big fan of ahoy hoy. Ahoy hoy.
Speaking
Now
of
then,
het,
now then, rally ho.
Dan, at least I have a question about het.
Oh,
and it's
not het again.
It's postal service because you have a package.
This show is just about het.
2018, the year of het. 2016 was the Great Biscuit debate.
Yeah.
2017 was the year of the Gilbert.
I'm sending you a package, and we're trying to figure out how het gets its mail. Is it like a single donkey that makes its way in, or do they like airdrop it from a hot air balloon once a month?
I think it's that guy from Twilight Princess who's always like, onwards to mail!
Just running around everywhere.
It is that guy.
It's the guy from Majora's Mask who's just running full speed everywhere.
Isn't he in every Zelda?
I don't think he's in every Zelda.
He's in Breath of the Wild.
Wait, guys, way too early in the show for a video game reference.
Oh, yeah.
Come on now.
Sorry.
Yeah,
my
but
fault.
it is
The hell do
like
you
that
think
guy,
this
but
is?
he's 92, honestly. So it takes a while.
Am I moving?
Have I fallen over?
Why does he sound like he's from the south?
Because he is. He's travelled that far.
Oh, okay.
To deliver 3 pieces of mail.
Yes.
Interesting.
No, we are actually part of the Royal Mail Network, would you believe?
Have you got a postcode and everything?
I have. Just last year.
Jesus.
All the old ladies of Het are all confused because you've just got a random assortment of numbers and letters.
What is this wizardry?
Paper?
I'll
Get
send
me-
the raven.
Paper will never catch on. Bring me my parchment, Gerald, for God's sake.
Bring me my slate, tablet, and chisel. I'm going to write
Bend over, Gerald, so I can use you as a rest.
write a sternly carved rock to my neighbor. He'll have it next month.
Just that 92-year-old man rolling a big boulder down the road.
Just dropping rocks off at people's door.
I mean, it's really hard to get the cars in sometimes.
I'm surprised they even sort of the cars, like the mules and crystals.
Are you guys the youngest people that live there?
I'm pretty sure we are, apart from the children.
By like 4 decades?
Yeah. We're gentrifying it.
It's not a claim anyone can make.
Make Het young again.
Just need some cool new condos and we'll be sorted.
Condoms?
Condos.
Why do you need cool condoms? Like air conditioned?
Glow in the dark's always a fave.
Oh. Helps you.
Look at my lightsaber, guys!
Cheese and onion crisp flavoured.
Whoosh, whoosh. I won't be your father.
Oh, God. Official Star Wars condoms, you heard it here first.
Yes.
Brought to you by Proper Bollocks.
One free with every Nintendo Lavo.
It all ties in.
It does.
Yeah, it all comes full circle on this show, you know. Except if you wear a
Eventually.
lightsaber.
About-
Lightsaber condom, it didn't go anywhere.
About 3 years later, it all comes full circle.
Our jokes are the long haul here.
Indeed.
How's everybody been the past 2 weeks? What you been up to? Nothing?
I've been alright. Friday the 13th has lived up to its name in our house.
Oh, really?
But both mine and Hazel's mums, for different reasons I won't bore everyone with the details with, are both currently in hospital and both went into hospital on Friday.
Oof.
So
On the
that's
same
been
day?
interesting. Yeah.
Wow.
Separate hospitals. Separate reasons. But yeah, it's been a bit mental this weekend.
Were they getting various kitchen appliances installed?
No. I don't think so.
No.
Although that'd be handy.
No convection oven belly or anything like that?
Do they have some kind of rivalry going on? One found out that the other one's in hospital, so the other one had to go.
That bitch!
How dare she? How dare she?
Who does she think
So
she is?
Hazel's mum's on the phone to her, just like, she's in hospital. I'm feeling faint. Just take me in.
I've fallen over.
I've fallen over.
Ironically, the fallen over part isn't too far from the truth with Hazel's mum.
Oh, man. Well, hopefully they're all okay.
Yeah, no, they're fine. It'll be on some ongoing stuff, but it's all good. It's all good.
He's all good.
Yeah, but other than that, I've not been up to too much, to be honest. I did, however, if I may speak about video games this early, Eric, picked up. I paid for again the Insane Trilogy. Insane Trilogy. The Insane Trilogy. It's a hat you can put on. The Insane Trilogy.
16 feet tall and you look like a colossal douche wearing it?
Yep. Yeah, I mean, who doesn't in a Trilby? The Insane Trilogy again for Switch. And boy, that thing runs all right on there.
Yeah?
Yeah, I've been enjoying it.
Yeah? I thought about rebuying it again, but Jesus, I've spent a lot of money on video games the past 2 weeks.
Go on.
Because I have found some gems.
Some gems.
Some gems. Some gams. I found some gams. Big hot ones. I finally found a game that I have been on the hunt for years.
Ah, Nintendogs.
Yes, the Dalmatian one.
Viva Pinata.
That game was great. Did you guys ever play it?
Upskirt Simulator 4?
not going there.
Backdoor Sluts 9 in VR.
That was the first thing I bought for my PSVR. Next to Fisting Fireman 6.
Dead or Alive Beach Volleyball 2.
Now, that is a game.
You're right, it is a game.
Did you guys ever actually play the Dead or Alive Beach Volleyball?
I did not.
Terrible volleyball simulator. Fantastic boob jiggling simulator.
I mean, that's all you want from a game, isn't it?
Yeah.
Did you hear about Dead or Alive? Is it 6? Apparently they toned that down at last.
Oh.
You spoil all your fun, don't they?
Yeah.
Everything's got to be so politically correct now. Free the boob, burn the bra. Anyway,
No, nobody wants to see your boobs.
moobs.
I think yours is so large that they actually class as boobs.
Well, they're on my back.
Oh God, you really let yourself go this past month.
I know. No, so I was killing some time with Christy, and we stopped at one of the local game stores, and I kind of had this running mental list of just random games that I'm looking for, and I've been trying to round out my Legend of Heroes collection, and a couple weeks ago I found Legend of Heroes 3 Ocean Song, or whatever the hell it's called. Didn't even know that game existed, but found it, and I've been trying to find a physical copy of Trails in the Sky for years now. Never even seen a single one.
Did you look in the sky for the trails? Because you might have found it earlier.
Get it, Dan? Because the game's called...
Yeah, I got it. Nice. Yeah.
But one of the game stores that we're at has a case with nothing but in-box and sealed games. I'm just... Christy and I are looking through there and getting ready to walk away, and something catches the corner of my eye, and it's just a little black box tucked in there.
Backdoor Sluts 9.
Perfect. Christy, do you mind if I get this?
VR.
And then Christy's like, well, it's no Backdoor Sluts 8, but...
We'll give it a go. But no, lo and behold, not only was there a physical copy of Trails in the Sky, it was the premium edition, and it was sealed. Had to buy it.
You have a problem.
I don't.
You do.
I don't, Dan.
You do.
It's probably the most expensive PSP game I've ever bought, though.
How much was it?
$75.
What?
Yeah.
It's a burn.
And as I was taking the sticker off, they put the sticker on the plastic around the spine, and as I'm taking it off, I'm just terrified that it's going to bust that seal.
Yeah, I mean, what would you do if that happened? I mean,
Ugh.
good God.
I'd have to play
It'd
it.
be like the worst thing ever.
Well, it would instantly have the value of the game.
Yeah, that game that you're never going to sell.
So I've decided from now on, whenever I buy a sealed game, I'm making them take the sticker off before I buy it.
What about if they refuse?
No, I'm not going to buy it.
Ah, I see. Your plan has no drawbacks.
Exactly. And then I was at the store the other day, and I almost spent way too much money.
Backdoor Sluts 10.
That one's overpriced.
The slutting.
No, I finally saw a copy of Rule of Rose for PS2. Have you guys ever heard of that one?
Nope.
It is a really hard to find PS2 game. Probably one of the more expensive ones. Just a loose disc copy goes for like $200. And they had one in box, manual, everything for $300. Asked them if they would take $250 for it. They're like, yeah, I guess. I went, nah, no thanks.
Is it actually a good game?
Apparently, yes, but it has some really uncomfortable themes to it. So they didn't make a whole lot of them.
Various authorities condemned the game and called for it to be banned. The game was cancelled in the United Kingdom.
Yeah.
The whole game is just an old man trying to get comfortable in a chair going, ooh, I just can't get it right.
I think it has some references to like underage sexual encounters.
Oh yeah, that's not
And
good.
that'll be why then.
Yeah.
Let's avoid that one.
Yeah, we will not play that one.
Let's not do that one for the show.
Yes, we'll avoid it. But it's just super rare to see, and People will still pay like $70-$80 just for the box because they'll find a loose disc for it and buy that, and then they got to buy the case for it. And then on top
just
of
draw
that,
the box art in crayon, and then that's all right, isn't it? Just
well,
get a blank box.
if you actually look at the box art, it kind of looks like it's done in crayon.
Yeah, there you go.
Then sitting next to that was a Saturn game that I always put.
Backdoor Slots 11.
I was already giggling in preparation of you saying that.
He pauses too much. He just gives me a chance.
So you're saying don't pause anymore?
Yeah, basically.
So I started getting into collecting Saturn games, and I'm realizing that's an expensive mistake. At least collecting American versions of the game, because they're always wildly more expensive than their Japanese counterparts. But Panzer Dragoon Saga for the Saturn is considered to be the best game on the Saturn, if not one of the best games ever made. But
it's the on-rails Saturn Dragon shooter, isn't it?
Yeah, it spans like 4 discs. It's supposed to be incredible.
Really before.
Really hard to find. They came out with, there was a sequel on Xbox, Panzer Dragoon Orta, I think it was called. Orta. But just the discs were $350.
What?
They had a non-sealed in-box copy for $800. Like,
What?
yeah, I'll pass
That
on
is
that.
mad.
I'll pass on it. But I did end up buying a little-known 3DS game called Corpse Party that I think once that game hits 10 years, which it's coming up not too long from now, we should definitely play.
I've never heard of that either.
Yeah, Corpse Party's fantastic. That just hit my list of must-own games about a week ago. I was looking up PSP games, and they're like, yeah, Corpse Party is one of the best PSP games. It's kind of a... it's almost like Danganronpa or some of those survival horror games where basically you're interacting with people and trying to keep them alive to get them through certain situations. But the game really thrives on paying attention to audio cues and little random visual glitches within the text to give you cues on, hey, this person's about to die, because at any time somebody will just die. And you can rewind it or reload your save, obviously, to try to keep them alive. But supposedly it's wildly graphic and really cool.
Never heard of it.
Yeah.
Apparently it's a whole anime series and everything.
Yeah, it is. I didn't even know they had a 3DS remake of it, and I found it in box with the back-to-school edition and everything, so I picked that one up. But it's been a really expensive couple weeks for games. On top of finally finding a copy of Red Faction Guerrilla.
I haven't bought a game for like probably about a couple of months, apart from
since
Bioshock.
Oh, Dan.
Yes.
You didn't hear what Mike said, did you?
I didn't know.
Oh, okay. You can listen back to it on the show. It'll be
All right,
funnier.
thanks.
So you should have plenty of money saved up for that Pro Controller by now.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mario Kart.
Buy something useful.
You could have been playing Mario Kart with us at 3 this morning. UK
Could
time.
do that with the Joy-Cons.
Yeah, but you wouldn't have been as good.
I would.
I don't know.
Because I'm shit already, so it would be just the
I
same.
I think we should start doing more Mario Kart sessions with people from the community, because that's always fun. It was kind of a last minute thing, and I think we only had Kayla Rose jump in with us, but
They're really... That's another point, though. They're really not reducing Switch game prices.
no.
They stay up there. Like, Breath of the Wild is still £53 in game. I was in there yesterday.
If I see something reduced, I get it. I picked up, in the past couple of weeks, I picked up Mario Rabbids Kingdom Battle, because Sainsbury's had it on special offer at £20. I was like, I'm not going to see it that cheap again for fucking ages.
No, definitely not.
I'm really enjoying that, by the way. Thanks for the tip, Dan.
You're very welcome. Go and buy Hollow Knight now.
That game has no business being as good as it is.
I know, it just
such
shouldn't
fun.
work. I still think I could do without the rabbits. But
I don't know. Like, I normally find them really obnoxious, but to be honest, I'm giggling quite a bit. Like the way Peach Rabbid is constantly always taking selfies of herself and things like that. And it's actually quite funny.
It's
Did you
alright.
guys
They're not
ever
as
play
annoying as
the-
they've been in the past.
Did you ever play the original Rabbids games on Wii?
No, I saw it and went, no.
No, God, it was so much fun. They're like, it's like kind of like a Mario Party style ripoff with just mini games and just
When they
goofiness.
introduced in Rayman.
Yeah.
it was because it was Rayman Rabbids for ages, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Rayman Raving Rabbids.
Yeah, and then I don't know. Like, I've not had much experience with Rabbids. I always kind of disregard them a little bit because I always associate them with Minions, and Minions are fucking everywhere. And don't get me wrong, when I watch the Despicable Me films, I love the Minions, but the fact that they're every fucking where and then have like stupid quotes on them on social media and everything
Yeah, people have kind
winds me up.
of.
Mike Tyson and getting angry over something on social media, shocker.
Yeah, never seen that before. It's the absolute worst, everyone. Every day Michael put a post up whinging about something.
The thing is,
I
right,
kind of look forward to it.
Me too. It brightens up my afternoon.
the funny thing is, I've got like loads of friends on Facebook who haven't seen me since like either for years, I haven't seen me since I was a kid or anything, and like there's this running thing that everyone thinks I'm actually really miserable, and I'm like, I'm not at all. I'm one of the most chirpiest people you could beat.
Just not on Facebook.
It's funny. If I put the character down, it's fine.
Yeah. Speaking of Switch games, you guys see the Sonic Mania Plus news?
Is it out now?
Comes out July 17th, so 2 days.
Oh, okay.
And here's what I think is fantastic. $30 for a physical copy, which I guess is fine. $5 for the upgrade if you already own it.
That's what they're doing right, because it's not really that substantial an update.
Well, you get 2 additional characters. You get...
I thought it's 3, isn't it? Characters?
No, it's
No,
two.
you used to have
Mighty
3, now you have
Armadillo
5.
and Ray the Flying Squirrel.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you get a bunch of new campaigns dubbed Encore, and there's a 4-player support for time trials and ghosts.
Sounds good to me. See, I will probably end up picking this up on Switch. I already bought it on PS4, and yeah, I could upgrade on there, but this gives me an excuse to get it on Switch, and I can have it on the go.
Yeah, I wish... I don't know. I can't justify a physical release of it or a physical purchase of it when I can just pay $5 to upgrade.
Yeah.
I guess.
More importantly, they've put level transitions in for every zone.
That was a massive bugbear for you, wasn't it?
It really was. A lot of people must have said as well, though, because they've put it in.
What do you mean? Just like a more smooth
Basically,
transition?
some zones in Sonic 3, they introduced the concept of level transitions where it would show how they got from zone to zone.
Okay.
For example, in the ice cap zone, he comes in like on a ice, what's it called, snowboard, but in Sonic Mania, some levels had it and some didn't, and it would just fade to black.
Oh, yeah.
It was quite jarring.
Yeah. Whereas now they have transitions. Apparently, they've also changed some of the bosses a bit. So, like the Metal Sonic boss on Stardust Speedway has been completely revamped.
He's now made out of cotton wool.
He is. Slightly easier to defeat, I feel.
Just getting wet.
Oh, yeah.
Showing Backdoor Sluts 9 in VR.
I don't know.
See, it all comes full circle, you see?
I know, yeah. I really liked Sonic Mania, but
We've
I don't
been
know,
playing
I'm
it
not-
in our house recently because finally I've been waiting for this day since Ellie was born where I can actually start having her play video games. And she's just a huge Sonic nerd right now, which part of it kills me inside. It's like, you should like Mega Man more.
Sonic Mania is a very good game. You've got to admit it.
Christy's been playing through Sonic Mania, and we've just been giving her the second controller just to kind of play around with Tails and not really have it be an issue. And finally, she's like, I want to be Sonic. So I'm like, all right, here you go. And I just put her on the time trials levels, and she can make it through the first level. It takes her a while, but she can get there. And it's just
she will learn.
yeah, it's just
She
fun
will
to
be a
see.
pro.
You know, you hand your kid a controller, and their hands are so small on it. She loves using the Pro controller. I'm like, why don't you use a little half Joy-Con? She's like, no, I want the Pro controller. I'm like, okay. Even a 4-year-old understands the importance of a Pro controller.
Dan?
But it's just so cute to see the excitement on her face playing Sonic, and like, that joy of being a kid again.
Dad, can we play Throw Knife the Hedgepig Mania?
Oh, she'll come running into our room at like 6 a.m. like, Daddy, can we play Sonic together? I'm like, I want to say no, but I have to say yes, so let's go.
It's a good way to wake up.
Yeah. How about we play Mega Man instead?
Introduce it to Sonic 06. That was a good one.
I heard. Every time we go to Target, she wants to look at the Sonic Forces game in the Xbox aisle. I'm like, we don't even have an Xbox, and that game's probably trash.
Did you guys hear about the Sonic film that's coming out?
Yeah,
Jim Carrey's been cast as Robotnik.
Apparently.
Isn't it going to be some weird mishmash of CGI and real life?
Yeah, it's going to be live action with CGI, which is just not going to work.
I don't know. Who Framed Roger Rabbit made it work in the 90s.
I know, but Sonic is at its best when it's set on Mobius and he doesn't interact with our world. It's just stupid. I don't know why they do it.
Kind of like Mario Odyssey and New Donk City.
Yeah, well, I like New Donk City, though.
Yeah, except Mario is a freakishly proportioned midget.
He always has been.
I don't know. I always assumed
Even Princess Peach is taller than him.
I suppose. Goes to show that if you're short, you can still get the girls.
Yeah, does he, though? I mean, she seems like the ultimate cock tease to me.
Yeah, but he keeps going for it.
I still think cake's a code for sex.
Cake?
She always promises him cake.
Are you thinking of Portal?
No, I'm thinking of Mario. Princess Peach always promises Mario cake all the time.
I baked you a cake.
Oh, yeah, you want a piece of this pie? Oh, I see.
Let me show you my donut hole.
That's an unwrapped joke for you.
I understood that reference.
Nobody else did.
Get this. If you want to know more about Factory Sealed Unwrapped, check out our Patreon. Patreon.com/Factory Sealed.
Beautiful plug, my friend.
Even $1 will get you access to the nonsense that we record before the show actually starts. Segway!
Shameless plug!
Flavor Flav!
What is going on?
We have a lot of game to get through today.
I do. Let us crack on.
I'd love to sit and talk more crap, but we have 2 full discs of Final Fantasy to get through, one of which I thought was going to be a whole lot shorter than it was.
It's not. I did tell you.
No, you said disc 4 is pretty short. No, it's not. It was 8 hours long.
Well, that is short in this grand scheme of things.
The first hour of the first disc of this game was only 6.
Shut up.
Good point.
Thank you.
So we are actually finishing up Final Fantasy IX this week, discs 3 and 4, because you two are going to be gone next show.
I am, yes.
It's just going to be...
we were going to... This was going to be just disc 4, but we had, Tom couldn't make it the other week, could he?
You mean
and then ironically, he's not here today.
Poor Tom.
Oh, yeah, he's not.
Yeah. Don't know where he is. He just isn't here.
He's dead.
He's probably dead. So we're doing 15 hours worth of game.
Sequentially.
So we last left off with Queen Braun washing up on the beach like a dead whale and kicking the bucket.
Yet somehow still not dead despite going through an explosion.
Hey, she had time to get to that escape hatch.
I mean, all that blubber protected her.
What the hell even is Queen Braun?
I don't know. I want to say a big fat pleb, but...
I mean, she is hideous.
Because Garnet... Is this a spoiler? I can't remember. Have we found out about Garnet's history
No,
yet?
not yet.
We did mention it on the last show, though.
Yes.
But we don't know for a fact yet that what you're about to say. So hold it.
Okay, I'm holding it.
I'm holding.
I'm holding it.
So who
it's glowing in the dark. Take full circle, guys.
Just wearing one around the house.
Just in case.
Just in case that time that right moment hits.
I just like the glow, to be honest.
Keeps you company. That's a dark place.
Crystal comes home. She's like, "Why are all the lights off? Why haven't you opened any windows yet?"
I've been waiting for you, young Jedi.
Daniel, I'm leaving you.
Not again.
You'll be back.
How can you resist? Vroom.
Anyway.
Okay. Final Fantasy Disc 3. That's it. You can continue. So where do we start on this one? It's been a while.
Everyone's a bit glum. Oh, glummy, glummy, glummy.
Yeah. Zidane's
back
pissed
in-
off because now Garnet's back and she's going to assume the role of queen, and he's sitting in a bar throwing a pity party for himself. And
I thought it was just a bit jarring because up until this point, Zidane has shown that he's interested in Garnet, but in the start of Disc 3, he suddenly seems to be like really, really in love with her. Like really.
he does make that change quite quickly, doesn't he?
He does.
Well, we mentioned last time, you brought it up, Dan, that, getting to Disc 3 and Disc 4, like, the characterization and the building of the characters and all that does end up taking a back seat from now on. Mm-hmm. And the characters do, in some places, just make a sudden switch.
Yeah, it
this is
really
a prime
does.
example of that.
It's important to preface these two discs with saying that it's kind of while it is the same game, the storyline really ramps up in terms of threat and what's going on, but character development just gets shelved to the side completely, in my opinion.
See, I don't know if I necessarily agree with that.
Well, you're wrong.
Because I felt like this game as a whole, I'll save the rest of my thought for it, but I feel like this game as a whole is almost entirely story with just a sprinkle of actual gameplay.
Yeah, but did you not feel that the characters didn't get necessarily their individual stories as much in the third and fourth disc?
But Zidane does. Zidane and Garnet do, but everyone else seems to get forgotten about.
Like Amarant. You guys hate Amarant because rightly so. He has no character development.
Yeah, well, even his, obviously we'll get to it later, but even his part of the ending, it's just like, oh, all right.
It was just kind of tacked on, oh, we forgot about this guy. I think everybody's story does come full circle at the end, though.
I think it could have been better. We'll come to it.
It could have. But yeah, everybody's just kind of ho-hum around Alexandria.
They're not sure where Kuja went. Because he went wandering off on his dragon, didn't he? After Queen Braun was killed.
Yes, he's gone. And then we have a very light-hearted scene where everybody gets a love letter. Aiko gets Dr. Tot to write a love letter to Zidane, and then she falls off a balcony. The love letter gets picked up by Baku from Tantalus, and he drops it, and I think it gets picked up by Beatrix or Steiner?
Beatrix picks it up. Or no,
yes.
Who does
Steiner picks it up, I think. I think they both pick it up, actually, because they end up both coming to the dock on the night.
Well, one picks it up, drops it again, and then the other one picks it up. I can't remember which order.
I actually really like this section. It's complete filler, let's face it, but it's pretty funny.
It's a little slow, though, isn't it?
The whole start of Disc 3 is real slow. I feel like that's the theme of Discs 3 and 4 is, holy shit, this game is going slow.
I still quite enjoyed it. You know what we haven't mentioned up until this point? Stiltskin. Did anybody follow this quest line?
Yeah, I buy off him every single time.
I missed him in Alexandria at this point, so he doesn't appear again.
I missed him.
Does he just not appear again?
I think I missed his last appearance.
No, he doesn't. He doesn't appear again if you don't. You have to talk to him every time, or he doesn't come.
And you have to buy his stuff, don't you?
Yes,
yeah, I missed him in.
He needs the money to continue his journey. You see.
He shows up in Memoria, doesn't he?
No.
Pandemonium, I think.
Yeah, Pandemonium. He shows up there, and he was there, and I just forgot to go check where he was, and that's where I missed him.
Oh, I can't remember what he gives you a gift at the end, doesn't he, for helping him get through? And I can't remember what it is. If you buy his things all the time, I will have a look. But carry on, as you were.
So when Aiko's writing her letter, Dr. Tot makes a note about the horn. He recognizes her horn, And it kind of kicks through to a flashback that Tot has about a boat that showed up in Alexandria that had a dead woman and a baby girl. And this, Dan, like you were about to mention, kind of it reveals that Garnet is not actually Queen Braun's real daughter. The baby girl that was on the boat looked just like the actual Princess Garnet, who had just died. They don't ever really say how the real Princess Garnet died, do they?
No, an illness? I think it's briefly mentioned, but it's washed over if it is.
Yeah, so this baby looked exactly like her, except the baby had a horn, and the king ordered the horn to be removed, and then they raised this new baby as Princess Garnet.
It's quite sad, really, for the original Garnet. Where is she buried?
Just threw in the ocean.
Just chuck her in the sea.
Oh, I have a note about that love letter. Beatrix thinks it's from Steiner, so she's the one who picks it up.
Okay.
Yeah.
They do both definitely pick it up at some point, though. So.
Yeah.
And that kind of begins a romance between them two.
That's such a cool little side story.
I like that, yeah. It's nice for them.
I think
like Beatrix. I wish Beatrix was one of the characters. One of the main characters.
Yeah, it should be more interesting than Steiner, if I'm honest. But I think Steiner's very integral to the story. You need his brashness and his...
Oh, no, I don't want rid of Steiner. I'd rather have Amarant be removed and have Beatrix.
Yeah, but Steiner and Beatrix are too similar battle-wise, I think.
So is Amarant.
Right, although I give him loads of shit, some of his abilities are fantastic.
Oh, he's
Is it
so
Chakra
awful.
and Aura that are pretty good? I can't remember what Aura does, but Chakra replaces MP.
Aura is auto life and regen.
That's it, yeah.
I don't think I've ever actually used him in combat.
I used him this time, actually.
I still stuck with my main crew.
I forced myself to change, because I always do.
Yeah. Let's see. So Garnet agrees to meet with everybody before her coronation, and
Zidane... She can
Zidane...
speak again at this point, right?
Yes.
No, she hasn't lost it.
No, she hasn't lost it yet.
Oh, right, okay. Yeah.
Zidane opts to say nothing, and
Spoilers.
he had this whole speech written up in his head about how what he wanted to say, but then what he did say wasn't really how he felt. And
Rally ho, I love you. I love you, I do.
is he Jamaican now?
No, Geordie and Jamaican is quite close together.
Oh.
They kind of are in a way, aren't they?
Yes, people do often say that. Continue.
I'm just trying to remember where things went from here. So after this, you got to head
everybody
to...
goes to Trino for a little jaunt for reasons.
To talk about Maiden Suri. And at this point in time, after they've destroyed the Ifa tree, the roots or whatever, the mist on the continent has been reduced. And
it has, hasn't it? Yeah.
You see an ATE where Zorn and Thorn are talking about trying to get back into the castle and all of that.
And they once again speak funny.
Yeah, it's back again. I found something random out about the Maiden Suri name. Maiden Suri is named after a pre-Islamic archaeological site in Saudi Arabia called Madain Saleh. In the Quran, the people of Maiden Saleh, the tribe
spelled it wrong.
Yeah, well, I might be pronouncing these wrong anyway. The tribe of Thamud or Thamudis were a tribe that fell to the worshipping of idols. The word Eidolon in Final Fantasy IX is related to the word idol, and Maiden Suri was a centre for summoning arts.
Ooh.
Well,
yeah.
Look at Michael with his facts.
Factory sealed. There you go.
Oh, God. Shoot me now.
Nothing's wrong.
So, there's a really good ATE in Trino at this point where Queena chases off the four-armed man who was pestering Aiko. And it was really funny. And she just chases after him going, "You give delicious food!" I love Queena.
Do you guys
So
know who
funny.
the four-armed man actually turns out to be if you follow his quest?
Yes, he's a treasure hunter.
Yeah. He's the one who was sent to kill Amaranth, wasn't it?
No, that was Lani.
Yeah, but are you aware that he's actually something throughout the Final Fantasy? So Gilgamesh from Final Fantasy V.
Gilgamesh, yeah.
Basically, the foreign man is supposed to be Gilgamesh. He also appears in Final Fantasy VIII. If you
He's
actually
in like every Final Fantasy. Man.
Yeah. Well, he's not in 7, is he?
Is he not?
No, I don't think so.
I don't think so.
Yeah, if the player obtains the Excalibur II sword, they get a message from Gilgamesh's brother Enkidu mentioning he has taken the Excalibur and left Excalibur II for Gilgamesh. The Excalibur first appeared on Final Fantasy V and was the weapon Gilgamesh mistook for the legendary sword Excalibur, which is also the one that only does 1 damage in Final Fantasy VIII, isn't it, if he chooses it?
Yeah.
Yeah. He basically travels the universe collecting different weapons, Gilgamesh. That's how that's his deal. That's how he always pops up in different ones. He's in Final Fantasy 12.
I've not played 12.
I'm not sure if he's in 13 at some point. He probably is. Probably one of the sequels or something. But he always pops up. And he takes Odin's place on 8.
Huh.
So in Trino, you actually find out a bit about Kuja owns the mansion. We've seen him previously, I think, talking to the auctioneer or on the balcony above the auction.
When Garnet goes in there on the first disc.
But he actually talks to the auctioneer now, and you find out that he is actually the owner of Trino's auction house. And there is another ATE as well, which shows how Zidane is the one who framed Amaranth, and that's why he's a wanted man.
That was such a cool little scene.
That's about the best character development Amaranth gets. You kind of understand why he wants to best Zidane.
Well,
Zidane he wants to kind of understand him, doesn't he? He wants to understand why because he wanted to best Zidane, and then Zidane beat him, but then Zidane didn't kill him. And he wants to understand what makes him tick.
Well, and that's the character development between the two. Amaranth is all about brawn, and Zidane is all about brains. He's sneakier about it, and Amaranth kind of comes to this realization through the story that, okay, maybe being clever and smart is better than just brute strength.
Yeah. Oh, I've just remembered why you go to Trino at this point. It's for the card tournament.
Yeah, but why did you need to go to play in the card tournament?
For filler.
Ugh. There was a ATE that happened that talked a little bit about Vivi. He meets Marco, who originally sent him to Alexandria. Marco sent Vivi originally to Alexandria. And you find out that Vivi grew up near Trino, so you send him home to see if his grandpa is there, but he's actually gone.
Yeah, did you not visit that on the first disc?
I didn't.
Not the first.
You can go to Quan's dwelling at this point for a scene with Vivi.
Yes, you can.
Yeah, so
but
I
also,
went.
If you have a mountain chocobo by this point, you can give him a dead pepper, and he can jump off the ledge into the ocean and get a treasure.
Treasure.
So I took Zidane to Quan's dwelling. You find Vivi there, and then they have a flashback about Quan, who is a Q.
I always say Q.
Trying to prove fishing from the mist in the sky. And he's trying to prove a theory of nourishment without eating, which goes against the whole thought process of a Q of just constant food. And
also goes against the process of actually being able to live because you need to eat.
Have you guys read the little thing on the wall that you can find in Quan's dwelling where it says something? It says about Vivi's height and then says something like, not big enough to eat yet.
Yes, I saw that.
Well, Quan reveals that he fished Vivi out of the sky, and then Vivi kind of comes to this realization like, oh, well, maybe I fell off a cargo ship too. He's such a sad...
I think.
He's such a sad little character.
There's another scene there later on if you go back with Quina and Vivi in your party as well.
That's much later, though, isn't it?
It is, yes, but I thought I'd mention it. Disc 4, I think.
This card battle thing that you have to do in Trino sucks.
I breezed through it.
I got stumped on the first round like 10 times. It was the dumbest thing.
Yeah, I didn't find it hard either, though. I had done a lot of the Chocobo.
Yeah, you get a lot of cards.
You get a lot of good cards from that.
I thought it was annoying how you have to win all 3 of them.
Oh, do you? I didn't realize because I just breezed through it. So.
Well, they make it seem like, oh, hey, if you win all 3, you'll get this. Like, well, great, you have to win all 3 because you couldn't go on to the next round until you beat it.
And
I liked how Regent Sid is the card champion, though. I like that.
But if you beat all 3 without losing any of them,
you get a rebirth ring.
You get a rebirth ring. But the thing with Zidane here, obviously we've mentioned that he's suddenly madly in love with Garnet, and because Regent Sid is an Oglob, they pretend that the sailor, I can't remember her name,
Erin,
that's it, is actually the card champion. And there's a bit where Zidane says, "Oh well, if she's a hot sailor, yeah, I'll face her so I can meet her." Whether he's just trying to project, his feelings away, I'm not sure. But the strange character turn of him suddenly being in love with Garnet seems to get forgotten about for a moment, where he's suddenly thinking about girls again.
Yeah, I think the same people didn't work on the filler sections as worked on the main plot.
You create fluff. You make him a sexist pig. So after you win this, you discover that Regent Sid is testing the Hildegard 2, and then Bahamut shows up and destroys Alexandria.
Oh, it's such a cool scene.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. This section in the game, this whole attack on Alexandria is possibly one of my favourite parts.
Yeah, there's this really cool bit as well where it plays an excellent theme where Steiner and Beatrix are fighting together.
Yeah.
And it's one of the few times you get to use Beatrix and you have to fight the Mastodons.
Well, and as they get surrounded, too, Steiner almost professes his love for her, but she kind of cuts him off and like, hey, we're not going to die here today. Let's do this.
Let's do this.
This is the first moment where Steiner, I mean, he's usually one of the strongest ones in your party, but he always seems like a bumbling idiot with rusty armor and a bit janky. And this is one of the points where he actually he feels like a badass.
Yeah, because
I think he trances at one point as well as part of one of the battles.
Yeah, he does.
And,
yeah, you're right.
Yeah, and that's really cool because some of the battles do have these sections where you go trance. Trance is a terrible thing mostly in battle, but at these thematic points where it activates, it works really well, I think. So this bit in Alexandria is the guys are travelling back from Trino, and Aiko flies off the airship to Garnet, who is hearing like a choir basically singing at the top of the castle. And together they summon Alexander, who is basically just around Alexandria Castle. There's a big machine with wings.
He's essentially really the cool castle.
It's not the castle, though. If you look carefully, he's behind it.
Yeah, but isn't Alexander by nature a castle?
Sort of, yes.
Yeah.
But he isn't actually the castle. Because I wrote Alexandria Castle is an eidolon, but I looked closely at it, and you can see how he surrounds it rather than being the castle itself. So, at this point, Alexander completely owns Bahamut, but then the eye in the sky that we've seen previously comes and completely destroys Alexander's wings and impales it using Alexander's big sword that comes up from the castle, which is a really cool scene as well.
Yeah, because Alexander's summon is called Holy Judgment, right? And it has something to do with Aiko's pendant, and hers starts glowing, and Dagger's pendant starts glowing together. They can summon it.
Zidane actually sends everybody away at this point as well. He's kind of like, I have to do this myself to rescue them and stuff, and he rescues Garnet after the castle collapses. Because he sends everybody away, because I think he knows what's about to happen.
Yeah.
I kind of like this, how Amaranth is just in Zidane's face about it. Amaranth's he kind of takes that stance of live to fight another day and is not afraid to tell Zidane, like, you're being an idiot. And if you want to do that, fine, I'm not going to be a part of it. Where everybody else is always like, no, I want to come with you. Amaranth's like, no, screw you, you're going to go die, whatever.
He's got no emotional attachment to any of them, has he?
Yeah.
No, he doesn't.
So after Kuja destroys it, though, you get these occasions.
No, Kuja does not destroy Alexandria. Kuja does not. It's there is a scene where you don't know where exactly it is. It's assumed it's above the eye in the sky, and you see a mysterious figure who looks a bit like Darth Vader with his flashy light on his chest.
Oh yeah, that's right.
At his glowing penis with his condom on.
Yep.
Well, and he starts talking about Kuja, right?
Yes, he does. Kuja's went too far or something, I think
and
he says.
He's like, I granted you the freedom to do as you wish in Gaia for one purpose. You lost sight of that mission. I won't tolerate it. You don't know who you're defying. And then at the end he goes, you too, Zidane.
Yes, very, very, very
Foreshadowing.
And then he nukes Alexandria. It just
Oh, dear.
explodes.
Oh, dear.
I know.
Well, technically, the Invincible destroys the castle.
Yes, but we don't know what the Invincible is at this point. It's just an eye in the sky.
The big eye in the sky.
Yes, and that destroys Alexandria.
So how did Zidane save Dagger?
Well, she falls off a ledge and then he's on a rope and they swing to safety, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know how they avoided a nuke, but they did.
Huh.
Well, when you say it's destroyed, it's not obliterated, is it? It's massively damaged. It's in
It's a
ruins,
hell of
but-
an explosion on the FMV, my friend.
Well, yeah, true.
Well, and then you go back. You learn that this guy's name is Garland, and
Which shares the name with the main antagonist of the first Final Fantasy.
yes, I was going to bring that up, Mike.
And he
You-
sounds fabulous. Oh, hey, everybody, I'm Garland.
So he starts talking about the souls have returned and the process continues and they need to continue circulating and eventually no souls will belong to Gaia anymore. And these must never be circulated back. And then he goes, if only Kuja had lasted longer. And something goes on to, I think it's Kuja says, I can't escape my fate. Someday I'll have to face you, my counterpart. But they all wake up in Lindblom. Like, how the hell did they just get to Lindblom?
They use the Hildegard 2, because they end up saying we shouldn't have gone in that airship. Because you end up seeing that scene before they go to Alexandria where they're in the airship and it's obviously not working very well because it's flying without mist. And, they're worried that it's going to fall out of the sky. And they actually have a conversation saying that we shouldn't have used that airship. That was dangerous.
So I
See, is that revealed when you... Is that revealed when you ask blank? You have two choices. You can say, where's Dagger, or how did you get here? And I chose, where's Dagger, and he just runs away.
I don't remember, because it's been a couple of weeks since I actually did this part, but I could be wrong, but I'm sure it's when they're around the table, because I think it's actually Freya who ends up saying something like, we shouldn't have used that ship.
There's a fun little ATE here where you find out what happened to Quina. She just washes ashore, and all these soldiers start poking him, thinking he's dead.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because Quina isn't in Alexandria, is she?
No. I like this playthrough has really made me appreciate Quina so much more because it's such a goofy storyline. It's a character that just doesn't give a shit about what's going on in the world, but they're like, great, here's this group of people marching across the world. I'm just going to tag along with them and find food, and occasionally I'll just go bumbling off on my own and just relink back up. And I love how the main characters interact with Quina too. They're just like, oh, you're still here. All right, come on. Quina's awesome.
Yeah.
So everybody has a conference, I think, at Lindblom at this point.
Well, actually, before that, Zidane goes and finds Dagger up by the telescope and doesn't understand that she isn't able to talk yet, but he kind of bumbles what he's going to say and just ends up leaving her alone. And Dagger starts having this internal thought process and essentially just boils down to, like, Zidane, you're so sweet. So you start to see this development of feelings from Dagger towards Zidane.
Yeah, I hate how she loses her voice. I think it's utterly pointless.
Well,
irritating.
It is a stupid plot device, but think about it though. She's really upset about what happened to Alexandria, and she felt that it was her fault, and she's in extreme sorrow for everybody that's
from thematic point of view, but it's just for the game itself.
Yeah, it affects her being your white mage in your party.
Well,
Yeah,
it works out well because you realise that Eco's a much better white mage, which she is.
Yeah, but I don't want to use her.
I don't want to use her, right?
Really? I think Eco's much better than Garnet.
Yeah, but I don't like her as a character.
Yeah.
That's what's important, Mike.
That's the one thing that I've noticed about this game, though, is previous Final Fantasies, I kind of really liked all of the characters, and I'd find myself bouncing around between, with the exception of Kate Sith or Kai-Shi or however the hell you want to say it. This game, I just really didn't like many of the side characters, except for Quina. I didn't give a shit about Freya.
Yeah, I feel like the core ones, Vivi, Steiner, Garnet, they're the ones you care about the most. The rest are kind of just there.
Yeah.
I don't know if that... I'm with you on that one. So, in Lindblom, I've made a note of Regent Sid has a crazy throne elevator which goes down to the room below. Like, how lazy is that?
Well, he's an Oglob.
I know, but still. And there's also, you go out into the city. At this point, Regent Sid is sick of being an Oglop. And we have another filler section where you have to collect potions to turn him into a frog. Because you think it's going to turn him into a man, but he turns into a frog.
When finding the potions to cure Sid, the items refer to the Book of Matoya, a witch that can be found in a cave in Final Fantasy. And I don't know if you guys noticed, because you weren't playing the remaster and it's probably not that clear, but other than the mustache, the frog that he actually turns into is pretty much identical to Frog from Chrono Trigger as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I love Chrono Trigger.
So actually, Dan, before you have to get to the potions, Sid shares a bunch of information with everybody. He's talking about all the 4 major kingdoms have been destroyed now. Burmecia, Clara, Lindblom, and Alexandria have all been destroyed by Kuja. And Sid personally saw Kuja escaping Alexandria aboard the Hildegard 1 with talking black mages.
Oh, yeah. Who are Vivi's friends from the Black Mage Village.
Yeah, and then you get kicked to an ATE about Kuja, who's just pissed off about everything, and he's like, nothing can stop me. So he becomes supervillain at this point. But like you said, Sid doesn't have an airship to stop Kuja, and he needs to be a man again to help finish developing the Hildegard 3?
3, yeah.
And this is where they reveal, hey, Dagger lost her voice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Did you guys see the scene where the family from Burmecia come and they have loads of kids?
Yeah.
I thought that was really good. I like that.
Did you guys catch the Star Trek reference in Burmecia?
Which one?
So when you're going around asking people, you can talk to pretty much everybody, and you can ask them about the potions. One of them makes the
Lindblom, you mean?
Yeah, the Lindblom. You're looking for the potion. You ask a guy, and he makes the Dr. Bones reference of, "Damn it, I'm a doctor, not a whatever it is." It's a straight up lift from Star Trek.
Awesome.
Let's see. Oh, so after he turns into a frog, he discovers, you know what, the only other way for me to change this is we have to find Hilda.
Yeah. Isn't this where he reveals that she was the one who turned him into?
Because he cheated on her.
Yeah. Naughty Sid.
So then you can use the ship that you stole from Alexandria. Not an airship, but just a boat.
Which you don't need if you have a ocean chocobo.
Yeah, true. One thing that really irritates me about this game, going forward from here, so this is really the first point where the game opens up and you can start doing side quests. So you can do loads on the Chocobo side quests, you've got the Blue Narcissus, you can go to areas you've not been before, and so this really is the first point where you can start choosing your own party, which all the games till here, you've pretty much... There's little bits where you can swap them in and out, but generally you get what you're given. All the other Final Fantasies on PlayStation 1, which obviously is what I know most of Final Fantasy, is you get an ability to change your guys on the fly on the world map. On this, you have to go to the boat every time, or later on you have to go in the airship to change your party, and it's such a pain in the arse, especially if you're using the chocobos a lot, because there's certain areas...
It is quite irritating.
Yeah, there's certain parts where you have to... Where if you go... You have to use the ships in some way, shape, or form. So if you've been out and about on your chocobo, you've got to travel all the way back to your airship or your boat just to change your party.
Well, I was going to mention that too. I found it kind of annoying that they do, up to this point, give you a couple options to change your party, but then you're stuck with that choice for quite some time.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I just stuck with the main 4.
Yeah.
So anyway, at this point you get the boat. Sorry, Mike, go ahead.
Well, one thing I was going to exactly say the same thing. There's some other bits that you can go to. You can actually go back into Alexandria at one point, and I've just got it here. Where is it? when you can go back into Alexandria, and obviously it's in ruins. In front of the steeple on the edge of town, a woman bearing the title of Flower Girl says, "He's handsome, but he's not exactly Mr. Personality," which is which is talking about one of the Pluto Knights. This may be an allusion to Final Fantasy VII, where Aerith was known as the Flower Girl, and protagonist Cloud has a cold personality at the start of the game.
Oh.
Well, isn't that nice?
There's also in Alexandria, I'm not sure if I mentioned this one on one of the other shows, but up near the synthesis shop, there's 3 statues of a tall, short, and a fat woman, which is supposed to be the Mega Sisters, which obviously has appeared in quite a few Final Fantasies.
Wow. Full
So
of
from here, you got to
references
go
as
to Black Mage Village.
well. Oh, yeah. You do.
And nobody's there. You learn, I think a couple people stayed behind, like the priest or the cleric stayed behind.
They're looking after the chocobo egg. A couple of guys
Yeah,
in the
and he
hut.
said everybody went with Kuja because they learned about their lifespan, and Kuja came here and said, hey, guess what? I can extend it. So they all went, great, we'd rather live longer than live here and die, which is kind of counteractive to what this cleric was talking about in Disc 2, where he's like, you know what, this is where I'd rather be and spend my time here being happy instead of romping around the world trying to find a cure. And
Did you guys know that later on you can change the music in Black Mage Village? I found this out literally just before we came onto recording now. It's not until Disc 4, but there's a point where, you know, the Doga's Artifact and Oon's Mirror you can get on in Trino Auction House. If you go into Black Mage Village after you get a certain airship later on, which I won't spoil yet, you examine a gramophone at the inn, and if you've got the Doga's Artifact and Oon's Mirror, the background music changes to Doga and Una's theme from Final Fantasy III, and then that'll just keep playing until the player leaves the village.
I did not know that.
No, I didn't either.
the more you
Wow.
know.
Yeah.
I don't know how people figure these things out. I really don't. I mean, the official guide back in the day wasn't any help. So
No, and the internet at that time was garbage, so basically
Yeah.
you're on your own.
So at this point, you find out that Kuja lives in a palace to the northwest or something, which is under quicksand.
Well, you also
Which sounds
learned that
very
Vivi.
impractical.
You also learned that Vivi was a prototype, because Vivi asks if he's going to stop soon, and Kuja said that his prototype that was built before. You assume you're kind of drawing the connections here. You assume that Vivi was that prototype, but he said the prototype would last longer.
How many goes did it take you guys to get into Kuja's palace through the quicksand pool?
Like 5.
It took me 4.
I felt so stupid afterwards. I'm like, oh, it's just the one that doesn't have. Because what I was thinking was, okay, I got to go for the one that has the little spurts of sand coming out of it at that time. Like, okay, I got to go now. And then like, fuck, another antlion.
You two are idiots. Did you not spot that?
I didn't even notice that anything was coming out of it. I mean, my
Yeah.
image was too stretched. So,
Mind you, I had to have Banjo Tooie explained to me.
you did. Because it's the second one, Eric. Get it?
I don't, because they spelled it wrong. They spelled it Too.
Oh, right.
So it's also the banjo. I
Yes,
suppose that
it
would
is.
make sense. God damn it.
So as soon as they get through the quicksand, they get captured. Somehow.
Smooth move, everyone.
Yes, they're all in prison cells, and Kuja at this point basically has them do whatever he wants, and he wants them to go via his airship to a place called Olivert.
Right. Get him to do the washing up. Right. Clean the shed outside.
Yeah, wash my balls, thank
Yeah.
you.
Quick handy.
Well, he can't go there. Zidane says, well, why don't you go on your own? He goes, well, they have an anti-magic barrier. And he looks at Zidane. He's like, and you're too stupid to use magic.
I like this bit, though, because it forces you to mix up your party, because you can't use magic.
Yeah.
I thought
Yeah,
it was
well,
kind of cool.
you don't take the people who use mainly magic.
What I don't like, however, is that it dumps you miles away from Olivert on the world map.
Oh, that's
Make
such
your own
a...
way there.
Did you know, Dan, I know you've been doing the Chocobo quest at the same time as me, but like you can get Freya's ultimate weapon as early as now. You can go and
Can
use...
you?
Yeah, you can go. Hers is underneath one of the cracks on the world map, and it's near Olvert. So you get, if you've got a mountain chocobo, you go to it and get hers as early as this.
Yeah. Did anybody encounter the house enemy at this point?
Yes.
The Hoos, which is a
The
callback
Hoos.
to the house enemy from Final Fantasy VII.
Tis, yeah. God, those things
Was
are
it?
weird in 7.
They are. I can't wait for the remake to fight it. It's going to be so stupid.
So I have a confession to make about this point in the game.
I got another confession to make. Sorry.
He's an idiot.
A loud one.
Sorry, I backed off from my microphone. Give me credit.
This is as far as I've ever made it in the game.
Wow.
I was unsure that I'd beaten it because I didn't have a whole lot of recollection of this game. And coming into that area with Oliver where you're kind of twisting through the canyons, that's where I thought the end of the game was. Well, clearly not.
I mean, there's another disc yet.
Yeah. At least you were clearer than Mike, who basically went, "Oh, I think I haven't been past disc 3," and then he got to basically disc 4, and he got to the final dungeon, and went, "That'll do."
Oh,
It's like,
Oops.
yeah. So, Olivert is as far as I've made it in the game. Everything after this, I was just had zero recollection of. So,
oh wow, that's interesting to hear how it was for you then, because obviously I've played through it all before many times.
yeah.
So, Oliver is a really interesting place. It's kind of everything's very cryptic, but you start to find out more about this place called Terra, which is I don't think it's been mentioned up until this point.
Terror.
Well, yeah, a
Terror.
big holographic planet shows up with writing on it, and they're talking about Mother and Terra.
Zidane can read it, or it kind of speaks to him in his head or something.
Well, this calls back to something in the Eiffel tree that I meant to bring up when we did the first disc. Was the first disc, second disc? Second disc. You know, when they're in the Eiffel tree and they're looking at that elevator in the middle and not sure it's an elevator, you've got several options there where like Vivi can try it or Zidane can try it, and if you get Vivi to go on it, it doesn't move, but as soon as like Zidane goes on it, it activates to him, but no one thinks anything of it.
I see.
Yeah, and I meant to bring it up on disc 2 and completely forgot.
That's interesting, Michael. I like
Well,
that
because
one.
this orb that shows up here, too, kind of to your point there, Mike, shows Terra with cities all over it at its peak, and then it talks about then the decline began and all of that. So it's a very technologically advanced planet. You come across this weird wall of faces, which serves as a record of the
God, they're
civilization.
terrifying.
The seeds decline was not our fault. So all vegetation and the vessels died out, and the decay of our Terra triggered it. They're trying to. There's a lot of plot dump in this part, and it's all kind of just hodgepodge together. So they're talking about different methods were considered to stop the decay of the planet. The greatest minds of their world tried to revive it on the mother continent, which ultimately ended up in failure, and it ended up being the catalyst for the ultimate destruction. So a couple subjects were selected, and they slowly started to rebuild the planet. The flora and the fauna were all put into stasis, and the faces were then constructed to ensure the history of Terra was preserved. So you kind of get a little allusion to this planet is trying to find a way to survive, which obviously leads into the rest of the story of the game.
But we also know that this planet is called Gaia, so what the hell is Terra?
Gaia!
Gaia, guys!
Yes.
So at this point, I think Kuja has sent you to find something called the Gulag Stone, I believe.
Yeah,
And
which sounds like
Oliver-
something out of Abe's Odyssey.
Or
Yes, it
Russia.
does. You do have gulags in Abe's Odyssey. And you
No, not
fight
gulags.
Ark, which is a ridiculous airship boss, even though you're in the tiniest room in the world.
Yeah.
You know that Ark is also Garnet's ultimate summon,
Yes, I do. I know.
which is very strange. Yeah, it's
know
an
this.
airship for some reason.
Yeah, it just shows up out of nowhere, and then it's like you are in a tiny room. You can see it's tiny, and you're fighting this airship, and I don't know how. It's like, where have they gone? It's very strange.
In fact,
And then-
Garnet learns it from an item called the Pumice, and
Pumice.
yeah,
Pumice.
it's used to obviously summon Ark through her, which is massive.
Also
transforming
great
airship.
for buffing your feet, I believe.
Yes, very good. It's known as the Floating Stone. In the original NES version of the first Final Fantasy, the item was translated as Floater and was used to lift the ancient airship from the desert.
It's a floater. So at this point, the guys find out that Kuja is planning to betray them, I think, and they have to rush back.
Surprise, surprise! Bad guy's going to betray you.
Oh, and then you have a whole scene where you take control of Regent Sid as a frog, and this is one of my least favorite bits in the entire game.
You get to play just an absolute stupid game of red light, green light.
Oh yeah, I forgot about this.
Yeah, you basically have to sneak up on a hedgehog pie who keeps turning round, and then you have to press buttons when he turns round. Then you have to stop as soon as he turns round, otherwise you have to start the whole thing again, and you're against a timer. To get a key, which you then have to use to put weights incredibly slowly on different types of scales, so Regent Sid can bounce off the scales to access an hourglass, which he needs to turn round to stop his friends from dying.
Ugh.
And it's such
More
a
filler.
bad section. And it's just, I disliked it greatly. It's just, I failed the hedgehog pie thing about 5 times, and I had about 3 seconds left or something, and finally got the right thing of scales. And, it's just horrible.
I didn't fail it, but it took me a few attempts to get actually to the key without loot. I didn't run out of time, but I kept getting pushed back.
So at this point, you have to use the team who you left behind, don't you, to escape the desert palace?
Yeah.
The desert palette, of which contains many works of art, including a trio of statues arranged in a triangular fashion. 2 are decidedly demonic-looking, replete with bat-like wings and tridents, and are referred to as the promise of the evil god and truth of the devil. The white angelic statue in the middle is called the illusion of the goddess, which alludes to the warring triad from Final Fantasy VI.
Kefka's thing. So this section is quite interesting. Again, it kind of plays with the conventions so far. There is a boss at the end called Valiapira, who's basically this sentient security system who's a big stone. And to weaken it, you can find several different bloodstones throughout the Desert Palace, which you can find as you go through it. And to get them all, you have to do certain different things. Like those statues that Mike mentioned, you might have to put the shadows facing away from each other, and it might open up a stairway which leads to a bloodstone or something like that. And once you deactivate them all, Valiapira is incredibly weak and can't really do anything. But if you leave them on, the battle can be quite tricky.
Yeah. So if you leave them, basically, each one references a different thing. So one disables all your elemental damage from your attacks. One enhances its magic power, one its defense, one its evasion, one its magic defense, and one its magic evasion. So yeah, if you don't get the one with the elemental, you can't do any elemental attacks against it. And then it's got all these stupid stats as well.
Well, not only does turning all the bloodstones on weaken the boss, it gets you a bunch of cool gear too.
Oh, it does, doesn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, see, I thought I'd missed some, but it turns out I deactivated them all. So
yeah, me too.
Like,
the boss is super easy at that point.
Yeah, it took me a while to find them all, because some of them are hidden behind balconies and mirrors and windows.
You do have to do a little puzzling for some of them.
Yeah. But this leads me on to something that... this is jumping forward to the comments section a little bit, but me and Juliet in the Facebook group... Sorry, I can't get my words out today. She was mentioning, because she's been playing the remaster like I was, and she said that the random encounter rate seems to have dropped massively in the remaster. And I can't say I noticed it, but I've been thinking about it since me and her have been chatting about it. And exploring these places, I felt like I didn't get that many random encounters. So even though it took me a long time, I was getting
random battles all the time in the Desert Palace, like all the time.
But I have been thinking. I thought I hadn't noticed, but I've been racking my brains and thinking about it. And
I think I went up a good few levels in this place because they were so frequent.
The remaster they have definitely dumbed it down a little bit.
I think it was one of the major complaints about 9. I think it was very heavy with battles.
I think one of our other listeners was talking about it when he was in the ice cavern, wasn't he? As well. Which
is strange, because I feel, apart from the final dungeon, that if you basically fight everything along the way and don't run from battles and things like that, you're probably going to be quite well leveled. Like Mike, you were obviously very over leveled because you cheated. But
God mode.
I was grinding and using a time save.
Yes, cheating. But yeah, all the way through I didn't struggle. I felt like I was quite well balanced. So if that is taken out for the remaster, is the balance still as good, or do you have to cheat and grind a bit to get back up to where you need to be?
It's interesting, isn't it? I mean, I mentioned it briefly on the last episode about how I feel like you don't level much in this game, and ultimately everything feels a bit weaker in terms of when you look at the numbers. And I'm going to get more in depth with it later on when we get towards the final boss and everything. But I wonder if it was a balancing out thing. Maybe they felt with all the random encounters that maybe people were getting a little overpowered.
I don't know. I had to do about an hour and a half, 2 hours of power leveling.
Oh, really?
And I didn't run away from any battles.
I did at the end for Memoria, but that's it. So the guys, everybody gets reunited, I think, at the Desert Palace.
And they discover after they escape, they say, we got to stop Zidane from giving that stone to Kuja. Aiko is locked out, confronted, and chased by Zorn and Thorn.
Kuja pretends everybody's in a cage below, doesn't he? To get Zidane to hand over the stone.
Yes,
yeah. And then basically Kuja waits until Zidane's distracted and just steals the stone with magic and then runs away.
And he takes Aiko.
Yes, he does.
Yeah.
And at this point, the team, you actually get a scene on the world map where they follow Kuja's airship in the Blue Narcissus across the ocean. And you dock on the northern continent, I think. Is it called the Forgotten? No, that's
Lost
not the
Continent.
The Lost Continent, which is the snowy bit. And you go to a place called Esto Gaza.
Yeah, and you see a little clip of black mages barging through Mount Gulag. Or Gulag. And heading up towards the mountain.
Glug.
So there's in Esto Gaza, which is a very, very small town. There's not really much to it, really. It's just kind of there. You meet an unhelpful bishop who mentions for the first time a place called Shimmering Isle, which becomes important later on.
Yeah, because it's in the DLC of Oblivion. Shut up, Dan.
So I made a note at this point because Mount Gulag, I've noticed lots of enemies on Disc 3 have insta-kill moves, which gets really irritating.
Like the red dragons.
Yes. It's just, I just felt like a lot of enemies had it. Like death or doom or just an insta-kill. Like mustard bomb kills your characters the next time they take an action. It's a status
Level 5
heat.
death shows up quite a bit, so you got to make sure that your character's level doesn't end in a 0 or a 5.
I just felt it was a bit...
Well, here you see Aiko's Eidolons are trying to be extracted by Zorn and Thorn, but they ultimately fail. And Kuja keeps pressing them to continue. And
you got to be 16.
Yeah, otherwise it'll kill her. But Kuja says, fine, keep going. I need that Eidolon to beat Garland, and I must defeat him before Terra's plan activates, or he loses something. I forget what it was.
Aiko's guardian Mog, who lives in a dress and always lives with her, is actually revealed to be an Eidolon at this point.
Does it say which Eidolon?
He's Medine,
yes,
I think?
Medine, yeah, Medine, because the ribbon that you get afterwards teaches Eco. Yeah, teaches Eco it so you can use it in battle.
Yeah, but the Eidolon actually trances at this point, and this is where Kuja first finds out about the power of trance.
He wasn't around in the mid-90s.
He was not. God's sake, Mike.
Well, Kuja then just discovers that he just needs a powerful soul to induce trance. And
our soul?
Yes.
My soul is so powerful it has induced trance! You also find out at this point that Zorn and Thorn aren't actually twins, and they turn into a monster called Melty Gemini.
This Gemini is a bit melty. Could you take it back? This wasn't a very hard battle.
No.
I think, in the grand scheme of things.
No, it was quite easy actually.
Considering they're quite prolific characters so far, you'd think the battle with them would be.
And
they're just kind of
fighting the red dragons up until we fight them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they were real strong. So
Vivi
meet...
at this point learns about his lifespan because he met a couple of black mages, and he learns that these black mages knew Kuja was lying to them, but followed him anyway.
Kind of give them purpose, wasn't it? Give themselves purpose. Which, as we'll get to, kind of is the general theme of this game: having a purpose, having a meaning.
It is.
Mm.
So at this point, you
meaning,
Purpose.
Mike, you're meant to be quiet. Shut up.
Sorry.
Well, you find Hilda after this.
Yes, I made a note that Lady Hilda is basically female Tom because she speaks very posh.
And she's married to a frog.
She's like, what?
Well, she is the one who reveals Kuja's plan, which is interesting because Kuja captured her, and he just tells her everything. And his ultimate
He's
master
quite
plan...
arrogant, isn't he? That's the thing.
Yeah. His
That old
ultimate master
supervillain
plan
chestnut.
is that Kuja, is not of this world, Gaia, but he plans to use it to acquire an even more destructive power. And then Sid begs to be changed back from a frog to human, and he promises he won't cheat on her again.
I love the bit where he turns back and he can't stop ribbiting. It's really funny.
He kind of does that for a little bit after that.
Yeah, he does.
That is some mustache as well.
He's a good-looking dude.
So at this point, you find out that to get to this place called Terra through this shimmering isle, you need to break the seal at somewhere called Ibsen's Castle.
Yeah, right. They don't know the name of it, and Freya just goes,
because-
"Oh, let's just call it Ibsen's Castle." Yeah, all right.
That's so dumb.
I know I've made a note, and like also why Ibsen? Why not call it Flobbywibble Castle or something?
Well, it's not a place you'd go on vacation.
I know, but like the point is, like, where does Ibsen come from? Like,
I was
of
trying
all
to
the names-
decipher that. Like, is it something backwards? Is it an anagram? Nope.
No idea. You finally get an airship! Hooray!
Nespi Castle.
But it is an anagram for penis.
Oh, it is
Penis
Penis
Castle.
Castle. Hooray!
Woo! There's a dick joke in here somewhere.
Yeah, we just have to find it.
It only took us 20 hours of gameplay to find
I wonder
it.
if you wait there until nighttime if it glows in the dark. That would be awesome.
If it just turns into a big phallus.
But yeah, you finally get an airship, but also this is the first point where you can get yourself a gold chocobo. This is the earliest point in the game, which means that you can then...
I wonder if Eric knows all about this.
What?
Which means that at this point, you can visit Chocobo's Paradise.
Yeah, Eric, tell us more about the Chocobo side quest.
They are terrible.
Rough translation, this means that Eric did not have time to complete the Chocobo side quest and has therefore declared it shite without actually bothering
No, I
to
did.
do it.
I did a bit of it. I found one chocograph and went, well, this is dumb.
Yeah, that's not long enough.
I did one and went, I don't want to do any more of this because it's dumb.
No, you didn't.
Least favorite side quest ever.
I'm losing respect for Mike. I'm not lying.
I
What's
think you
happening?
lost that ages ago, didn't you?
It's not
Yeah, it's
fun.
been even
Dan,
more
it's not
so.
fun.
It is fun.
It's not.
Mike, back me up.
It is fun.
It's not.
It can be a bit long, but it's fun.
forest and smash my face into the ground till I find something. I'm going to pay somebody $60 to do it again.
Yeah, it's just like your childhood.
Yeah.
Embrace it.
But people paid me to do it.
It's not exactly expensive.
I know, but it's so dumb.
It's fun.
It's not.
It really is. You don't have a treasure hunter in you, do you?
I don't have that incessant
And
need
plus,
to...
you miss like loads of really good items from not doing it.
I made it to the end of the game just fine.
Yeah, but still.
We missed an ATE that we talked about where Sid he kind of guts the blue Narcissus to finish the Hildegard 2.
Yes. Three, yeah, which is the airship you get.
3, yeah.
Now, the reason I wanted to bring up the Chocobos here, right, is because I've discovered another side quest this past couple of days that I haven't done, but I had no idea existed. Are you guys aware of like a side quest involving going to all the beaches for the Fat Chocobo?
Yes.
Yeah, I had no idea that this existed. So what it is, once you've done the rest of the Chocobo side quest, you go to the Chocobo's Paradise, and there's the Fat Chocobo there, which is the one who's been bestowing all the extra powers onto Choco as you go along. or in Dan's game, Jock Buns the Chocobo. And he gives you a fat Chocobo card, and then you challenge him to a game of cards. Once you beat him, he'll talk about visiting all the world's beaches and restoring them. So you visit every beach in the game, and then once you've done that, and go back and talk to him, and then once you've done that, whenever you go to a beach in the game, you can press circle and restore your entire party. I had no idea. Yeah, it seems like a lot of faff, but just to save some money on tents. But I had no idea this existed.
I didn't either until recently. I looked it up, all the side quests and stuff, and I was like, oh yeah, because he says when you get all the chocographs, it says, I'll have all the treasures, but then you have to find all of the hidden treasures, which can be found in mountain cracks and also in under the ocean.
Mm-hmm.
Which also there's a mountain crack, Eric, which you won't have seen because you didn't do the Chocobo side quest, which leads to Mognet Central.
Oh, I wish I would have seen that.
Yeah, so it's worth doing just for that.
Nope, it's not.
And you find out that Mognet Central is not running, and there's basically a whole side quest, which I can't remember how exactly you do it.
Isn't it not running because it needs some super slick because it hasn't got any grease on it? But it's because one of the Moogles used the grease on the machine to do his hair, and that's why it's not working.
Yeah. And you have to go and find some super slick, I think, and then it all runs again. I don't think the reward's worth it, but it's a cool little side quest.
The Moogle theme from Final Fantasy V is remixed for the background music of Mognet Central as well.
So, Eric, there's a few more things about the Chocobo side quest. That you can go to somewhere called the Chocobo's Air Garden.
Also, finally, you get to fly on a Chocobo. Like, actually fly on the world map with a Chocobo, which is cool.
And you can land in forests. And so Chocobo's Air Garden is this place which can appear in 5 places on the map, and you don't know where. It's thrown as a shadow on the ground, and you probably wouldn't know about it unless you were told. And you can use an item called a dead pepper, and then you fly up into the sky into another area where you can hunt for chocographs. That is also where the optional super boss Ozma lives.
Ozma, what a bitch.
The giant pool ball.
Yeah. So this is going sidestep from the story a little bit. Did any of you guys try Ozma? I didn't do it until disc 4, but
I've never actually tried to beat Ozma. I can't be bothered with the grinding.
If you need a gold chocobo to get there, I didn't.
Yeah, well, obviously. I didn't do it till disc 4, so I'm skipping ahead a little here, but doing this for the show, I wanted to beat Ozma, because when we did Final Fantasy 7, I did all the weapons, so I wanted to give it a go. Got to disc 4, prepped myself. I did read a little bit online about what's the best way to prep yourself for it, and even with the levels I was at, it still took me, I think it was about 40 minutes it took me to actually beat Ozma. Yeah, it was a long battle, but it was worth it. Absolutely. Like, just to do it was worth it.
What did you get from it?
You get the Pumice, which teaches Garnet Arc.
So you
get the ultimate summon, basically.
This is kind of a good time for me to bring something up that I'm not a huge fan of how you learn different skills in this game, because it kind of forces you to equip shit items.
Yeah, when I'm equipping. Sorry,
I kind of like the how you have to think about it and balance it.
I don't, because it put me in kind of a hard spot towards the end of the game, because I learned that Vivi didn't have reflect and auto haste and auto whatever, so I had to go through and level all that shit up for each of the characters, and it just took a while.
Not if you have ability up.
Yeah, I know, and I did, but still, it's a matter of doing it.
Well, good. You should have played the remaster, and you could have cheated like Mike and
just God mode, had it done in 12 hours.
There was, when I originally had this game, when you used to do the Exploder cheat cartridge with the original PlayStation, there was a thing which taught you all abilities, and there is an ability which makes your attacks heal. So, because it just activated all abilities and you couldn't turn them off, so you couldn't do anything because you would just heal everything when you attacked. I was like, oh.
So you couldn't turn them off?
I remember that from childhood, yeah.
Jesus Christ. Yeah, I agree with you, Eric. Whenever I equipped items onto guys, I very rarely looked at the actual stats. I scrolled through really quickly to see which ones had abilities they hadn't learned and then just used those. So, yeah, it wasn't until, say, Zidane's wrist armor, until I got to a point where all of the items I had and there was nothing there, I then actually look at the stats.
Did you guys ever use Optimize?
I always did, and that's what bit me.
Nah.
Yeah, because I feel like sometimes it doesn't always optimize. Like sometimes there's things which are better.
No, I never used it.
So we never really actually talked about how the abilities are assigned.
Yeah, we briefly touched on it.
So each of the items has obviously their normal stats, but then associated with it is different abilities that you have to have that item equipped while you're in combat and get AP to level it up. And while you have that item equipped, you can activate that ability, but the ability will only stay active or available as long as you have it equipped until you fully level it up, and then it becomes yours permanently, correct?
Yeah, so you earn each ability takes a certain amount of AP to learn, and then while you're in battle, you get X amount of AP, and then once you've filled the AP bar, it's then on your character forever.
Yes.
Yes.
And the menu is a little confusing because obviously it has the AP bar, but then there's a diamond next to it with an A and an S. And the A stands for action, meaning you have to physically equip it and utilize it in combat. S is for support, meaning it's just on like auto haste or auto float or auto reflect or ability up or level up or anything like that. And then the diamond, whether or not it's filled, I did do some testing to figure this out because I'm like, why do some of these diamonds, why are some full and some not? There's red diamonds, there's blue diamonds. The diamond just indicated whether or not you already had it equipped.
Didn't know that. Anyway, should we go to Ibsen's castle?
Well, before that, I had a note about this because I thought this was odd. Nobody knows where Dagger is. So they're in Lindblom right now, right?
Yes, I think so.
And Zidane goes, "Oh, hold on. I think I know where she is," and runs to Alexandria.
Oh, yeah, this is so fucking
Just goes halfway across the continent, goes to Alexandria, and he finds Beatrix, and Beatrix is like, "Oh, maybe she's in a resting place," and ends up being Bronze Grave. And suddenly Dagger can talk. And she kind of reveals that she wants to be queen, but she also wants to stay with the group longer because she feels like the group has more to teach her. And she's concerned that people won't accept her the way that she is. And this is where Dagger decides to... She asks Zidane, "Hey, give me the sword or the dagger that you had before." And she cuts her hair off. And now she's short-haired Dagger.
Why though?
She has a fancy little cut.
Yeah, I kind of like it.
I don't. I think
makes her look a little older. But before we went to Ibsen's castle, this is where there's some exploration to do, and I went to Quan's dwelling, and there's that whole scene where Quina has that imaginary feast.
Oh yeah, that's as early as this bit. Is it? I did this disc 4.
Yeah.
You can do it here.
So I wish I did it at this point because you get running shoes which teach auto haste.
Yes, that's super beneficial. Quan is Quayle's former master, ran away because he thought it was possible to eat food with just your imagination, and Quan thought that was stupid.
Because it is.
It is. But Quina believed it. And Vivi appears, and Quan is like, Vivi, you no grow much at all. And Vivi then taught Quan about imagination, and that's why... No, I'm sorry, it's the other way around. Quan thought you could eat with your imagination because Vivi taught that to him. And you discover this whole thing was a little bit of a flashback, and Zidane is like, "Hey, who the hell are you guys talking to?" Because Quina and Vivi see Quan there, and Quina looks at Zidane and she's like, "You still have a long way to go," showing that like Zidane doesn't have much.
Shows up as well, doesn't he?
Yeah.
But
it shows like Zane doesn't have much of an imagination, and Vivi and Quina are all of this. You know, they're more thoughtful, and I just thought it was a really neat little scene.
Did you guys visit Daguerreo at this point as well?
Yes, the four-armed man treasure hunter is in there.
You see it completely different to me, Mike.
Sorry?
You see it completely different to me.
Daguerreo,
I always call it.
What'd you call it, Dan?
Daguerreo.
Well, you also pronounce it Konami, so...
yeah, I know.
I pronounce it Daguerreo.
Daguereo. Anyway, did you guys change Dagger's name back to Garnet? Because I did, because Dagger's fucking stupid, and at this point in the game...
she's always been called Garnet on my game.
Ah, okay. So do you know that you can rename characters here?
All of them, or just
You
one?
can do any of them. So if you've got the naming way card, which you can
found
get
in the Desert Palace.
Yeah, you get the naming way card. There's a guy there who wants to see the naming way card, and if you show it to him, he will change any character's name for you. So I changed her back to Garnet. It's similar to how the naming way card allowed the player to rename names back in Final Fantasy IV as well. But yeah, I changed her back to Garnet at this point because her being called Dagger now just doesn't make any sense anymore, and I've always fucking hated it anyway.
Yeah, they should have actually included that in the story. Like, hey, you know what? Now that everybody knows who I am and I'm gaining the throne, I'm going to be Garnet again. It would have been a neat little story point.
After we did that first show, and I was bitching about it being called Dagger and how stupid it was, is it Haitani Spindash, our German fan?
Uh-huh.
He brought it up on the Facebook group, and I've been meaning to bring this up since, that in Germany... she changes her name to Lily because it's a Lily dagger that he has. Oh. Which makes so much more fucking sense. I would have been happy with her being called Lily.
Yeah, Dagger's such a dumb name.
Dagger.
This is where I spent a colossal amount of time level grinding, because on the platform, right outside Daguerreo, there is a dragon that appears. And if Quina, at this point, has learned level 5 death, you can abuse a leveling system really easily, because this dragon that shows up is one of the most difficult random encounter bosses in the game. It's a level 60...
they're the same ones that's on Popos Heights, which is above Gizmaluke's Grotto as well. Where you can climb up the ladder, yeah.
But I think this one's easier because you can just run in and rest and buy more stuff and come back out. But you can... just cast level 5 death, and it is a 100% success rate of insta-kill every time.
Die, bitch, die!
I learned an important lesson here about saving frequently when level grinding, because you can... The dragon does have some really intense attacks that if Queen is not one of the first or second people to choose an action... you can get caught up really quick, and Quina for me wasn't very powerful, so he would often die, and then I'd have to spend time reviving Quina, and then before you know it, everybody's dead, and I probably was leveling up for 25-ish minutes and died and lost all that progress.
It's fascinating to me how you always call Quina he. I always refer to it as she.
There are times in the game, though, where they specifically isolate that it's he.
I know, but I just always think it looks like a she.
Yeah, but look at Quan and Quail. They also look like that, and they are clearly men.
They've got different outfits.
Well, yeah, so does Zidane and Steiner.
Well, maybe you shouldn't judge everyone by your gender stereotypes, Daniel.
Oh, shut up.
It's 2018. Come on. So I sat here and did level grinding on this, because you get like 8,000 XP per character, and if you have level up on... it increases that. If you have ability up on, and you get 3 out of that, normally 6 total.
This is around the point where you sent us a WhatsApp saying like you got 20,000 experience for one person in the party because they're alive, and that's where we realised that if party members are dead, an individual gets more experience on this game.
Yeah, I noticed that later in the game too, because there was an enemy that I beat that I'm like, all right, that person got 41,000 XP in one go, and they were the only person that survived.
Question. You're bringing up this whole thing about saving regularly. Is the continue function on the original game, or is that something new to the remaster?
So I never actually turned this off in the time that I played it. Every time I was done, I just suspended it on the Vita.
Yeah. So on the remaster, when you go onto the title screen after you've had it turned off, there's obviously load game, new game. There's also continue. And where continue starts you off from basically it seems to be to me, I didn't use it that often to be honest, just in case, but it seems to be like every time you exit or enter somewhere, it kind of puts that as almost like a continue point. So if I haven't saved for a while, if you haven't saved for a while and you've exited from one area into another, you can continue from there.
All right, that's handy, I guess, in case you accidentally die.
Yeah, no, I never used it. I always just loaded because I knew exactly where I was from then.
It's good to hear you didn't cheat for at least one bit, Mike.
Anyway, Ibsen's castle. This is the point where on the last episode I was on about that Amaran just has a bit of a fucking hissy fit.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And goes, I'm going to go in by myself because I'm not interesting and I need something interesting to do.
Well, this is also, Mike, at the very beginning, you sent us a message about selling old weapons. And for like the first 3 hours of the game, I sold all my old shit. Like, it's what you do with a Final Fantasy game. Hey, new weapon, equip, sell the old shit. And after you said that, I didn't sell a single weapon or a single piece of armor because Ibsen's castle is a reverse castle where all of the weak enemies are strong and all the strong enemies are weak, and your weapons with the lower attack rates are actually higher than the ones with the higher attack rates.
Yep, that man is right.
I get it. So I had to go through and equip all my old junk.
You can actually buy the items there from a Moogle, I think.
You find them, don't you? They're in chests, I think.
I think you can find them, but I think you can buy some as well.
Let's have a look. Let me pull the item list up for Ibsen's castle. Right, item list for Ibsen's castle. Yeah, on the actual item lists, so not in the shop list, you can actually find them. All of their original weapons. So there's the dagger, there's the javelin, there's the original rod, the original fork, etc., etc.
Huh.
Again, I kind of like this Ibsen's castle, how it does this, because they're trying a few different things to try and mix up the battles a bit. But again, I felt there was a lot of insta-death enemies.
Yeah.
Did you guys do the bit in Ibsen's castle where you can bang on the wall?
Yes.
And you go through and find a treasure chest?
Yeah, there's that's really difficult to do because there's that secret door and you have to do nothing and then do nothing, and then you keep choosing. It adds something different to the list each time, and you have to keep trying them until something drastic shows up. And you got to try that, and he runs into it, and
just leans on it and falls through it.
Yeah. What do you get through there? I forgot.
I don't know.
Sorry, I wasn't quite listening to you guys, so I just.
Oh, that's fine.
No.
Just like you didn't listen to the other shows.
I wanted to look, see if there's any reason why it's called Ibsen's Castle.
Penis Castle.
Yeah, and I found, I'm not going to read it out because it's quite long-winded, but I'm on FinalFantasy.wikia.com, and there is actually like a full-on backstory with it to do with Ibsen, but at that point that we're on about where Freya just goes, oh, let's call it Ibsen's Castle. You get no context of that still. I just don't understand. It's really weird. Anyway, sorry, carry on. What are you saying? What do you get where?
That secret door. But you find a wall at the top of Ibsen's castle that has a bunch of seals on it, and Amaranth made it there first. Like, becomes a stupid little contest, and he makes a comment about, we may be enemies the next time we meet, and just leaves. And you find these mirrors on the wall, but before you get those, you have to fight a boss, Takahara?
Yeah. Tahaka!
It's Tahakara.
Oh, what I'm looking at is spelled Taharka.
Oh, maybe I wrote it down wrong.
Tahakara.
Anyway.
Dan would probably pronounce it as Tahiki or something.
Yeah. Pineapple.
I just call him Tom.
There's a T in there. It's Tom. Yeah, so you discover this world map that has...
Going by that logic, does he use it for everything? Oh, Crystal, make me a lovely cup of Tom.
Yep, that's what happened.
Children, come sit at the Tom. It's time for Tom.
I'm going to go to Paris and see the Eiffel Tom.
You want to come up to Tom and see my Tom?
The Tom of my pencil is quite sharp.
It glows in the dark, my friend.
Anyway, yeah, Tahaka.
So you find a world map of Gaia, and there are 4 locations with mirrors missing.
Mirrors!
Mirror.
And they indicate separate areas around the world. There's 4 different shrines: the water, fire, wind, and earth shrine. And you discover, okay, great, we need to go activate all these shrines at the same time. So you hop...
I don't think they need to, they just decide to.
I'm so glad that they did it this way instead of making you travel to each one. That would have been such a
Yeah.
bunch of filler.
Oh, yeah. Did you guys struggle to find them at all? Because, Eric, you haven't done this before, so...
No, not really.
No?
No.
Yeah,
Because I looked at the map, and it shows you where they are.
Does it?
Yes.
I didn't know that.
I remembered that this was a thing, so as soon as I got that map on screen, I took a photo of it with my phone.
Oh, yeah, not the in-game map, Dan. The map on the wall.
Oh,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, you just had to get to the general location. But yeah, so you're
It just
in the...
happens that you have enough characters to send 2 to each.
They do
And Zidane gets stuck with Quina.
I love it.
Who was thrilled to be compared to leftovers.
Yeah.
So you meet each person in the shrine. It's kind of like a trap, and they fight the Guardians of Terror.
Yeah, the
Who
4
block the
elemental
way,
fiends.
and they all know Kuja.
Yeah. The 4 elemental fiends that protect the elemental shrines and later fought in Memoria, known as the Guardians of Terror, are Malaris, Tiamat, Kraken, and Lich. Anyway, sorry, I turned into Dan for a moment.
It's like Diablo, the Lick Queen.
The 4 recall their counterparts in the first Final Fantasy, the 4 fiends, which in the anglicised version of Final Fantasy, the Fiend of Fire was called Carry, although the name Marilith was restored in Final Fantasy Origins. The way the fiends are encountered in Memoria as fixed encounters refers to the way they're encountered in the past Chaos Shrine in the original Final Fantasy as well. So they're a big callback.
I like this bit where they're grouping people together because Zidane's really looking forward to going with Dagger, and then Aiko goes, "No, it's me. We're gonna have girl time," and they run off together. Amaranth and Freya get paired up, and Amaranth's kind of pissed. No, it's Amaranth and Freya.
Yeah, Steiner and Vivi. I was going to say, sorry.
Amaranth gets kind of pissed off about it, and Freya's response, or Zidane's response was, "Well, would you rather have gone with Aiko?" And Amaranth's basically like, "Good point." Vivi and Steiner, which is an interesting combination too, because they're going to the Wind Shrine and really strong gusts, and Vivi can't walk, so he keeps getting blown around, and Steiner's like, "Great, I've got really heavy armor on, just walk behind me." And Zidane's wondering, are they going to be okay? And this is where he makes a comment towards Quina, and he's like, "Well, I'm with Quina, so I should probably worry more about myself."
Which is funny, because Quina was one of my best characters.
Yeah.
At this point.
It's worth noting at this point, by the way, because obviously you guys didn't use Amaranth, but at the point after Ibsen's castle, he finally gets a victory celebration in battle.
Who does?
Amaranth.
Huh.
Up until this point, he does not do it.
What does he do? He just stands there?
He just sits down. He just stands there, yeah. He doesn't have a victory celebration.
Really?
Yep.
I noticed he sat down, but I've never used him past this point, so...
Yeah, until the bit after Ibsen's castle, he does not do a victory celebration.
Oh, interesting. That's quite cool, actually.
So
He doesn't redeem as a character, but...
No. You only have to fight one boss in all of these shrines, right? The Earth Guardian?
Yeah, it was Zidane and Quina.
Lick.
Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, I like how they kind of jump between all the people struggling through it. It kind of lends a little bit of intensity to each of the pairings, and
yeah, it's weird to see like the battles happening when it's not in the battle system, and like Steiner and Vivi are fighting, and Vivi is using his magic, and Steiner says, "I'll pin him down while you hit him with magic and stuff." And
he's like, "I don't know if I can hit," and he's like, "I believe in you." Let's see. Aiko asks Dagger if she's in love with Zidane, and she just flat out doesn't say anything. They have a note that Amaranth suddenly just appears on the ship. I don't remember what that's all about. This is where Amaranth kind of reveals why he's sticking with the party. He needs to understand why he lost against Zidane. And he discovers now that he didn't lose against him physically, he lost against his way of thinking, because Amaranth doesn't understand why Zidane is continuing to do what he's doing and why he's on this quest. And Zidane's whole response is basically, "I just need to find out Kuju's motive."
To be honest, I dislike Amaranth so much, and I find his story so dull that I don't really pay attention to a lot of it. And I know that's terrible because I'm doing a show that analysing a game, but I hate him so much.
I hate that guy.
He does suck.
Oh,
He's not a good character, no.
So
after you've done the shrines, it's time to go to Terra.
Yeah, and you just basically hover your ship over this giant teleporter and jump off.
Do a suicide dive into a portal, yes.
Yeah.
Everybody wakes up in a very strange alien world. Full of big mushrooms.
Well, and the first thing you see is this weird girl version of Zidane. This mysterious girl who kind of leads him along and you're chasing, and occasionally she'll drop a sentence of, "You don't remember anything, do you? And follow me and you'll understand maybe your own heritage as well." And finally...
She really looks like Zidane as well, doesn't she?
Yeah, with red pants and something dumb. Says, "Welcome home, you're where you belong and the place where you're going to offer yourself."
Yeah, so you go to a visit, you find a village at last called Branflakes, and...
Keeps you regular.
And you get... This is the first time that you actually see the Invincible.
The Invincible! Which is named after the ultimate airship of Final Fantasy III.
Oh. You get better ideas.
Well, and this is where Garnet kind of has a little bit of those connections, too.
Yeah, she realizes that the eye is part of the Invincible and flashes back to when Maiden Sari was destroyed and faints.
And also with Alexandria.
Alexandria, yeah.
And there's more dramatic monologues that show up on the screen, and you assume it's Garland saying stuff like, talking to Zidane. He's like, "You're completely oblivious, like a child. You don't know why you're given life or what purpose you exist. You shout to emphasize your own existence, blah, blah, blah." And
so Branflakes is kind of a bit of a plot dump again. And
it's a good plot dump, though.
Oh, yeah. You find this village full of people who look like Zidane, but they're kind of soulless and don't really speak much. And
they all look like kids.
Devoid of emotion.
And their response is like, "We don't possess any age. We were built this way."
I love the parallels here of Zidane and Vivi's story.
Yeah.
Where obviously... I'm getting ahead of ourselves a little bit here, but obviously you find out that these things were created to... Zidane essentially finds out he was created, and he finds other versions of himself that are soulless and kind of lifeless and don't really do very much, and it reflects so much of what Vivi's going through. And it's funny watching how both the characters actually deal with the same situation, because you would expect Zidane to deal with it really well, and as we found out in a little while, it proper screws him up, doesn't it?
Oh yeah, he goes a bit psycho at this point, and it's quite understandable, really. I guess. What was I going to say? So you find out at this point about the plot for Terra to absorb the souls of Gaia to infuse them into genomes. So the whole point of Garland's plan with the ether tree is to fuse these souls into Terra itself.
Yeah. So there's the flow of souls, a little bit like the live stream in Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah, I've made a note about similarities to Final Fantasy VII as well. So
yeah, there's this flow of souls that goes through the planet through a crystal, and essentially he's created the Aether tree to block the flow of souls from going through Gaia, so that he can collect those souls to then, like you said, to then recreate Terra.
There's a really good ATE on this section where Queena licks a big stone that they're all looking at and just goes, is very salty.
Well, you also learn here, too, that Zidane was given a special purpose, even though they're growing all of these clones of him. He was actually given life. And his purpose was to help Garland take over the cycle of souls. And
being an angel of death.
Yeah, like you said, Terra always goes around absorbing new planets to survive, and eventually the souls of Terra that have died will reoccupy the genomes, and Garland had to wait until Gaia's civilization advanced enough to use Eidolons, and it was Zidane's purpose to go to Gaia and help disrupt that cycle of life.
Mm-hmm. And you find out that Kuja was created in the same way.
Yes.
So Kuja is also a genome and also kind of Zidane's brother.
Yeah. So
well,
Kuja
that's a
was...
bit of a spoiler at this point. We haven't learned that yet.
Have we not? Oh,
no,
oops.
that's quite a ways down.
It's like the next section, so it's not really.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. But,
well, there's a
Kuja...
bunch of ATEs here though too, where you just see Zidane wandering around and he interacts with each person from the party. I like a comment that Vivi makes too, where Vivi's comparing himself to the genomes, and but the major difference that he tells Zidane, he's like, it's like their minds are just out to lunch for a while. It's just such a comment that Vivi would make. He's trying to find the positive side of it.
Yeah.
And let's see.
So Zidane goes off alone to a place called Pandemonium, which is basically Garland's castle?
Yeah, to go meet Garland, and then you have Aiko to go collect all the other members.
Well, Pandemonium as well was the name of Emperor Mateus's Castle of Hell. The music that accompanies the Pandemonium of Final Fantasy IX is a remix of Final Fantasy II counterpart with a slower tempo.
I'm not feeling Garland's decor, by the way, guys. I think it's a bit strange.
Yeah.
He's a bit weird.
Well, once he meets Garland, there's so much plot dump at this point.
This is a bit that really shocked you, right? The
Yeah.
plot twist here. Yeah.
It's coming up here. So he says, 12 years ago, we lost one of our most prized genomes that we had sent to disrupt the cycle of souls, and revealed that was you, Zidane. It says there's another one that was built just like you, but he threw a wrench into things, and it's someone you know quite well. Then you get to Pandemonium, and he says, 24 years ago, I gave life to a genome just like you. His will was too strong to be considered a vessel, and I considered discarding him, but instead I sent him to Gaia, and Zidane's struggling to figure out who this is, and he finally just reveals his name is Kuja. So,
oh, I know that guy.
Yeah, that's one of the few things, like, I did not see that coming.
Yeah, I didn't either, to be honest. Because you wouldn't expect Kuja to be like Zidane. You don't see his tail.
He hides
until
it.
Until he goes.
Well, he specifically points that out, because Kuja rejects it.
He does a forward tug
under his belt. So Kuja's mission was to bring war and chaos, which naturally
he did quite well with, to be fair,
induces a chaotic flow of souls, and a disruption of souls is best brought about by war. So Kuja technically exceeded expectations, but he felt threatened by a genome that appeared with more power, who ended up being Zidane. And Kuja, because he felt threatened by this genome, discarded Zidane. He dropped him on a world that he would ultimately destroy, hoping that Zidane wouldn't realize what he is, and he would just get caught up in the destruction and be killed.
Mm-hmm.
So this bit is all kind of about Zidane finding himself after this. After all this, he's feeling really down. He doesn't want to involve his friends anymore. And it starts a whole section, which is called, the theme for this section is called You're Not Alone. And it's one of my favourite bits in the entire game. Where I love the theme, and I love the way it works. Zidane rejects his friends, and then they all band around him, and you have to fight different monsters. And finally he begins to realise that these are my friends. They want to help me. I'm not just a soulless genome. I'm Zidane. I've grown into this person. And it kind of ties in with the plot of Final Fantasy IX, which is also kind of about living.
Yes. Well, because Zidane recalls the laughters and tears of the people that he's known on Gaia, and he doesn't want to... Garland promises, and he's like, hey, don't you want to live among the stars for eternity? It's like, no, I don't. I know these people, and I've developed relationships with them, and... I may be this all-powerful being, but I don't want that. And he says, if only I had a place to call home, which harkens back to the fact that he's pissed off that his actual home that he's been looking for is this dump on a place called Terra.
Yeah, it's just a really good section. I really like it.
Did we talk about why they need to disrupt the souls?
Yeah, to infuse the genomes with the souls.
And yeah, the Aoife tree is the divider of the souls. So they're draining Gaia of their actual souls to refill it with Terra souls. So if you speed up the cycle through war, you can speed up the entire process of retaking over the planet. And then the mist,
Terra wants to become Gaia because Terra is dead.
Yeah, and the mist is the stagnant souls of Gaia, and they are ultimately blocking the flow of the souls, but the Terra souls flow freely. And ultimately, they thought that stopping the mist was going to fix everything, but it doesn't.
This begs the question: is fair enough? His means aren't exactly ethical, but is Garland really a villain? Because really, he's just trying to recreate his home planet. He's
just created for a purpose, isn't he? Because he says he was created for this purpose. He's just trying to fulfill his purpose in life. Again,
he's the anti-hero.
Yeah, which is to recreate a planet and a civilization long lost. And sure, doing it by destroying another civilization, another planet, is not the best way to do it. You know, the end doesn't justify the means or anything like that. But in some ways, he's not really evil if you think about it.
Well, he actually ends up helping the group later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't like the Pandemonium dungeon very much. I thought it was a bit of a slog. After this, where you have to go up the lift and things, and then there's a puzzle with lights, so you have to run past the lights.
Is that after you do all the battles when Zidane's walking down?
Yeah, that is after all that.
Yeah.
And then Garnet saves the last battle, and I really like what she reveals here, because up to this point, Zidane's kind of been the protector of the group, and he's always had everybody's back, and he's always believed in everybody, and he's always protected everybody. And she kind of turns that on him and said, hey, well, you were watching our back, we were watching yours, and while you were believing in us, we were believing in you, and while you were protecting us, we were protecting you. I didn't really draw that conclusion because, you know, Zidane's the hero of the story, and he's just pulling everybody through, but essentially he wouldn't have been able to do anything that he had done without them.
Well, this comes full circle from what we were talking about, from being this womanizing, sexist pig kind of character, but he is really this heroic character who cares deeply about his friends, and he kind of realizes it in this section.
Yeah, because he's confronted with who he really is.
Is he ever womanizing again? He's never really womanizing again from now on, is he?
Not really, no.
Because I think he does that because he's been trying to find his purpose in life for so long, because all he can remember was this blue light about his home, and that is the blue light of Terra that he can remember. And so he's just trying. That's kind of just like a front for how he really is. And he kind of, for this section, realizes, right, I was created for this purpose, but I've grown. I've become more than I was meant to be. I'm not an angel of death. These are my friends. I care about them. All that stuff.
I have a note about that stupid room with the blue lights where you have 30 seconds to get through it.
Yeah.
How long did it take you guys?
Loads of times. If you touch one of the lights, you end up in a battle, which is really irritating.
And then you have to start all over.
Yep.
It took me two times.
22.
You don't have to start all over. Doesn't have to start all over, but if you only get a certain amount of time to get across the bridge in the next room.
Yeah.
And you get 30 seconds up, so by the time the battle's loaded, it's over.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got it on the second try. I thought it would have taken me more, but that first time, I'm like, fuck, this is going to be annoying.
So then there's a puzzle with the lift. Which is... So did you guys get the ATE where the characters offer to help you?
No.
With the lift?
No.
No? So if you basically fail to do the lift right a few times, a unique ATE shows up, which you can activate multiple times, where other characters control the lift for you.
Oh, that would have been much easier.
I know. So... Because I'm stupid, they've made it easier.
Interesting.
Dan mode!
Yeah,
was that the name of the ATE?
Unwittingly. Well, then you have your battle with Garland, who reveals here that he was...
fight the Silver Dragon first.
Do you?
Yes.
Yeah, you fight Silver Dragon first.
Who is green.
Good coloring.
And then you fight Garland.
Yeah. Who then at this point reveals that he was created to oversee Terra, and he's now the absolute controller of the planet while the civilization is in stasis. And then the Invincible appears after your battle with Garland, and it's Kuja, and he's like, hey, I love you all. You broke the seal and beat Garland for me. See ya.
Well, you have to fight Kuja as well.
Yeah. It was pretty easy.
Yeah,
wasn't too bad. But Kuja finds out at this point because he kicks Garland off a ledge.
Yeah, he moved fast as him off the edge, didn't he?
No, or this is Sparta's him.
Kuja
Kuja
finds out that he has a limited lifespan from Garland, and he goes absolutely nuts and destroys Terra completely with Ultima.
Yeah. Wait, he trances, doesn't he?
Yes, he does. He goes into trance, and he reveals his tail, which has been tucked away.
Ooh.
And then destroys Terra with Ultima, like literally destroys a planet.
Well, you learn at that point that even Moogles possess the ability to trance. So everybody does. You just need a powerful enough soul.
Well, we knew that from Mog earlier at Gulag.
Yeah, but Mog wasn't actually a Moogle. He was an Eidolon posing as a Moogle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, because he doesn't completely destroy Terra to start with, it conveniently gives Zidane enough time to evacuate the genomes. They steal the invincible airship and exit Terra. And they find that the planet is now once again completely covered in mist.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Even more
This is
so.
the point where I had got up to before. I thought I'd never got past the end of disc 3, but the very beginning of this disc, they're all on the bridge of the Invincible, which is when they realise that the mist has covered the planet, and I specifically remember that scene. So this is where, after this, I'd not seen anything else.
Well, is Garland... You said Garland's... He is technically physically dead, but his consciousness is still living on, because he talks then to Zidane, right?
Yes.
And he talks to him more like... He's talking to Kuja at this point. You know, I built you to last long enough until Zidane grew powerful enough, and I knew it was too dangerous to let you last longer. And he kind of personally attacks Kuja, and he's like, you're just a worthless doll, and you're no different than the Black Mages.
Yeah, and Kuja basically says, why should the world exist without me? And he goes a bit nuts.
Well, before you
Decides to
leave,
destroy it.
Zidane goes back and saves all the genomes.
I literally just said that.
Did you? No, you didn't.
Yes.
He
Oh.
did.
I wasn't
Definitely
listening.
Clearly.
Yeah,
And the amount of shit I get for not listening.
whatever. And one of them
in America.
One of them has the name Makoto.
Yeah, that's the main one.
Yeah.
So obviously, disc 4. This is typical Final Fantasy, PS1 Final Fantasy. You can either go to the last dungeon or you can do your mop up of your side quests. I briefly mentioned this towards the end of the last show, but did you guys go and look at the Eidolon Wall and figure out Garnet's real name and all that stuff?
No.
So if you go back to Maiden Cerie, you'll find Lani's there, and she hints towards something to inside Eco's little hut where she lives underneath the kitchen. There's something written there, and there's something written there. Something: time moves forward once, time moves backward once. 9 is the last number, is also the first. So you actually go into the Eidolon Wall, and it's a circular room, and you have to, if you go round it once and look at all of the inscriptions about all the different Eidolons, you keep going round, and you'll hear like a chime, and you have to keep going round and round and round, and eventually the chime will stop, and a new exclamation mark turns up for you to look. And you read it and you get a message saying, I survived the storm. I wonder if the two of you are okay. I see the two of you smile every time I close my eyes. I imagine I see you when I open my eyes. I have a mortal wound. I won't be able to wait for you very long. I regret being so unemotional all these years. I'm writing down everything here in the hope that you read it someday. To my dearest wife, Jane, although we fought many times, I may not have shown my affection enough. I love you very much. To my beloved daughter, Sarah, my life changed when you were born. You made me happy. These are the things I want you to know. So essentially revealing that Garnet's real name is Sarah, and her mum was called Jane.
Huh. Kind of generic names.
Yeah, I thought so. But in Final Fantasy 1, there's a character called Jane, spelled Jane, and she alludes to a Queen Jane, spelled Jayne, who was called Queen Jane the other way in some translations. Queen Jane's daughter is Princess Sarah, and in Final Fantasy 9, obviously, you've got Jane and Sarah on there as well, so it's a little callback to that, even though they're quite generic names.
Nice fact, Mike. I like it.
Yeah, thanks.
Very good, Michael.
I like how...
do my research
So here
sometimes,
you go to Black Mage Village, and you find that the genomes are living here now, which is an interesting place for them to fall, because technically they're no different than the Black Mages, and I forget who
Black
makes...
Mages have now become the people who are going to teach these people about life.
Yeah. I forget who makes the
'Cause they've
comment,
lived in
but
their
they
whole terror bubble.
they say maybe if humans can get along with the black mages, no, maybe if the black mages can get along with the genomes living here, then maybe humans and black mages can get along after all, or something to that effect.
Is it not Zidane?
I think so. But they
My
ultimately.
favourite bit of this section is Bobby Corwin the Chocobo, though.
Oh yeah,
Because the black mages have hatched this chocobo egg, and they have a chocobo chick, and have called it Bobby Corwin. And they will not call it anything except Bobby Corwin. They will not call it Bobby. They will always call it Bobby Corwin. It's just really funny. Like, why did they pick that name?
Mike, do you have a
Mike,
fact
do you
for
have
that?
A fact?
I was just thinking. I'll have a look. Hang on. As you were.
They decide not to tell Sid what's going on because they don't want to cause undue panic. And this is where I decided, okay, I got to go back to DeGuario and power level to get flare and reflect, because I felt a little underleveled for what was probably about to come, and I didn't want to struggle. Like, I was already under the gun to finish this game. I think this was 3 days ago. I wasn't positive I was going to finish.
So this was the point where I went to the final dungeon and realised I wasn't powerful enough, so I had to do some grinding in the final dungeon and also on an island nearby where you can get a monster with a lot of XP.
I just reutilized that dragon one because it was super easy.
So at this point in the game, you find out that something's happened to the ether tree. Kuja's done something to it. And basically something has appeared above the ether tree, which is the final dungeon. It's you have to fly there on the Invincible, and there's a whole section where you have loads of silver dragons come out of this portal thing, and then an airship fleet of Alexandria and Lindblom shows up and fights all these silver dragons, blows them up and things, and you go inside and you have to fight a Nova dragon before you can enter. And that's it, really.
Yeah.
There's also some new world map music at this point.
Nova Dragon is a translation of Shinryu, which is the super boss from Final Fantasy V.
I think there's a Shinryu in Final Fantasy X.
Any relation to Shinra?
Right, okay, so Bobby Corwin is an elongated version of Boko, the recurring chocobo name from the series. That's it.
Right.
Get it, Dan?
Sources tell me.
Boko, because it's
Yeah,
Chocobo?
Yeah, I got it, thanks.
Boko, the Chocobo?
Oh, Eric, you won't know this because you haven't got a chocobo, by the way, but at this point you can find Zidane's ultimate weapon on the ocean floor where the Shimmering Isle used to be.
Didn't you need the dead pepper or something like that to do that?
Yes,
Yeah.
you do.
You have to do that on any bits of the world map to do it. Just briefly touching on it, because we're quickly running out of time with Dan. Obviously, before you go into the main dungeon, the other side quest you can do is the Mognet one. You get I can't remember what item, I think it's a protect ring or something like that you get. It's actually really good. I can't remember what you learn from it.
Probably protect.
No, it's not protect.
Auto protect?
Ooh, maybe. But anyway, just to kind of quickly touch on it, just for the purpose of the show, you finally speak to Stiltskin and Kupo in Alexandria, and you then have to specifically go to these. You have to do another quest of delivering letters, and you have to just try and remember where they all are. I used a guide for this bit because I couldn't fucking remember where each one was, but you then have to go to each one. They'll give you a letter for the next person. It gives you another ribbon. That's what you get.
That's not bad.
Stiltskin.
Quite a
No,
good
yeah,
item.
it's a protect ring. Yeah, protect ring. You get a ribbon from Stiltskin, I believe. But you then have to try and remember everyone's name to go and deliver all these letters and going around the world and do that again. And then you get the super slick and the post starts again. But that's pretty much all you really need to know from that. But I just thought I'd bring it up.
Jolly good, Michael.
So into Memoria. It's a place of memories, and Zidane's told that he'll witness his entire truth here. And instead of Moogles now saving the game, there's this really odd, completely out of place save sphere that teleports
that was
Zidane.
weird. I think Memoria is quite thematically weird. I feel like it's just kind of. I said this to you guys the other day. It's just kind of needed a final dungeon. It just kind of shows up.
Yeah.
It doesn't really make much sense in the context of the game.
There's also some hidden master Tetra Phantoms here.
Yes, there is.
Did you guys
Mike didn't know about.
encounter any of them?
Yeah,
I
didn't
did.
know these existed at all.
I accidentally
there's
found the
basically-
first one and sure, I'll give you a challenge, and dude was super strong and somehow managed to pull out a win.
Well done.
I'm like, well, I'm going to end on a high note.
Yeah, there's basically these exclamation marks on the map where Zidane will like look up to the sky and kind of. At first, I thought he was just looking at the rain because it was raining in that section. I was like, why is he doing that? And then I remembered, the card guardians.
Yeah.
And there is this hidden save point in one of the rooms as well.
Behind the altar.
Yeah, where
Aiko's ultimate weapon is.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of the ultimate weapons are actually in this dungeon.
So as you progress through each room, you're treated to like another little cutscene. You walk into this room and you get to see Alexandria destroyed again, and you come into one room and Zidane. So Quina didn't see that because Quina wasn't there, and that's where you start to learn like, okay, these scenes that we're seeing are tied directly to your memory. If you're there, you're going to see it. So Zidane walks across a bridge and sees a little girl on a boat, and Dagger saw it also, and they discover, oh, you weren't there. Why? How did you see this?
This is where it lost me.
Why?
Why can he see it?
Because he is technically... He's been there. He was part of the... He was sent to Gaia to cause chaos and disruption, so Garland...
So was he on the Invincible when it happened?
I think he's part of the reason that Maiden Suri was destroyed, because Garland feared the Eidolons the most and decided to deal with them before they became a problem. So he had the original genome that he sent to Gaia deal with the problem. So
does that mean Zidane has always been that age?
Yeah, they don't age.
Ah.
So I think this is technically alluding to the fact that Zidane technically is the cause for Garnet's mom's real mom's death. He's the one who destroyed Maiden Suri.
So I've been quiet because I wanted to hear what your guys' take on this was, because I questioned this and I did a little bit of research online. Now, obviously, there's bits that hinted towards it. There's fan theories and things like that as well. What seems to be the general consensus of this, and this is why I left you guys to talk, because I wanted to see what you guys came up with, because, as I said, baffled me as well. Apparently, it's talking about how all memories return to the planet and are shared with everybody, because they also see the planet's creation, don't they? Which obviously none of them was there for.
Yeah, but this
so
ties back
the
to
memories
how
are
Queen
linked.
Can't see the thing, so why doesn't she have the memories if everybody can see the memories? It makes no sense.
Wouldn't it be some? Because obviously Zidane was created from using Terra. I'm making this as a go here.
It's bullshit, Mike. Really,
yeah,
that's just physics.
Wouldn't it be? Couldn't that tie back to how Zidane was created by Terra, and obviously they use the souls to create things. So if the memories are then pushed through with the souls, and there's shared.
Well, that explains. It is kind of a valid point though, because later it starts to show in Zidane's memory that Gaia was an ocean, and then Vivi goes, yeah, I'm starting to get a faint memory of that too, and so is Freya. And like you said, all existence can be traced back to one source, so why can't all memories be traced back to one source?
So yeah, hang on, I'm just reading further here. Yeah, when people die and are cycled through the soul machines, the memories of the dead return to the earth. Thus, Garnet's mother contributed to the memory to the planet, which is then instilled into living forms. Hang on a second.
This is going all Assassin's Creed right now.
Yeah, it's a bit mental, but I've just found a bit that doesn't 100% make sense to me. But right, Garnet's mother contributed the memory to the planet, which is then instilled into the still living life forms. That's why Quina can't see the destruction of Alexandria. Those who survive to see it aren't... Oh, that's what... Yeah, those who survive to see it aren't dead yet. There you go. That's why Quina can't see it, because the ones who survived to see it aren't dead yet.
Bullshit.
Huh. Interesting. So this is...
I really think it's dumb. I really do.
But the idea of Zidane seeing it because he might have been there on the Invincible doesn't fly, because they all start seeing the creation of Gaia, which obviously none of them were there for.
Yeah, this is why I just feel like this section just doesn't work in the game as a whole. It's just there.
It's a pretty massive left turn.
Yeah, it's not referenced all the way through. It's just there hasn't really been anything about memory all the way through, so it's been about identity and finding life, but memory, nah.
That The thing I hated about this section was you had to fight all 4 of those guardians. And each one was so drastically different. And I admittedly used a guide to help prepare myself. Because one of them...
No, I did as well.
It was like 15 minutes of preparation. And ultimately, at the end of it all, I just ended up using Vivi's flare and reflect times 2 on himself. And that's all I did. Zidane and Garnet were healers. And then Steiner would use his flare magic sword against the enemy as well, and he would be responsible for replenishing Vivi's magic points if needed. That's all I did from here to the rest of the game was just Vivi flare.
When I got to this point... sorry, Dan, go on.
I did Steiner's shock attack, which
I didn't have that.
Because you didn't get the items from the Chocobo side quest. And Amaranth's no mercy attack, and basically Garnet as a healer and Zidane attacking, and that kind of just got me through it.
Yeah. Since Ozma onwards, I had Steiner constantly using shock, which was every time doing 9999. Eco healing where needed, but then also using Nadine, which was usually doing at least 8,500. Zidane attacking and sometimes support where needed, and Quina was like support doing things like Angel Snack to get rid of status effects and casting auto life if my character's auto life had already been used. And it was a surefire way to do it. I mean, mostly all the enemies here, none of these bosses... I mean, I think the final boss only has, I think, it's either 55,000 or 60,000 HP. Yeah, so if you're doing 9,999 times every time with Steiner, you soon fly through it.
This is where they introduce another reference back to earlier Final Fantasy games where Zidane's going to find a presence that presides over all life and memories on the planet, and it's this crystal. And it's your job to...
See? She does exist.
See, it comes full circle. You have to take care of Kuja to protect the crystal. And, even if you're born for one purpose, Zidane says, even if I'm born for one purpose, I don't regret being born into this world. So he's accepted Gaia as his home. Let's see. Final boss, Kuja created 4 chaoses from the crystal's memory. Blah, blah, blah. Why should the world exist?
Why hasn't Kuja just... Because Kuja at this point wants to destroy it, like the universe. Why doesn't he just crack on? Why is he waiting for everybody to show up?
Well, an evil genius wants somebody to appreciate him.
It's just this bit
is
stupid.
Yeah, his statement's like, why should the world exist without me? That wouldn't be fair. So then you fight Death Guys, which props to you, Mike, for telling me that you can go back and save after the first of the boss battles, because you don't get to save between every one of the Guardian battles unless you want to trudge all the way back to the previous save point, and the encounter rate here is stupid high.
Oh yeah,
and the enemies in here are insanely difficult.
Even on my game, even on the remaster, if what me and Juliet were talking about, the random encounters being knocked down a tad, even for me, I was getting a lot here.
Oh, well, you can speed it up because you're cheating. So,
And just throw God mode on. So you return to save, pop back in, fight Kuja, who's now in transform.
I popped back out and used a tent, so basically at the end of the world where Kuja's about to destroy everything, just had a kip. And just... It's so stupid.
This wasn't that difficult.
I love the fight against Kuja. I love the theme music of this fight. I think it's really cool. Yeah. Reminds me a lot of the boss battle against Griever in Final Fantasy VIII. Just the way the piano is and things. Very electronic. So yeah, you fight Kuja, who's in trance, and he basically just decimates the party with Ultima again, and then flies off because he hits himself with his Ultima spell. And then this is where the game becomes absolute bullshit for me. I hate the end boss of Final Fantasy IX. I think it is the worst thing in the world.
It is real dumb.
Basically, what happens? You wake up on somewhere called the Hill of Despair. Everybody's basically dead. And then this being called Necron comes from nowhere. It's never been referenced in the entire game. Like, it's well known that this is just so jarring in Final Fantasy IX. There's nothing that alludes to this guy being here, and he shows up and he wants to just return everything to this zero world because he's been observing Kuja, and decided that because Kuja wanted to destroy everything, that people have no will to live. Which does tie...
he uses the famous Yoda quote, doesn't he?
He literally rips off Star Wars.
Fear leads to anger, anger leads to hate, hate leads to suffering.
Well, yeah, and Cujo is basically a victim of his fear, and he can only save himself by destroying himself and the origin of all things.
But I tried to do research into Necron. I tried to find out what his deal is. He's basically meant to represent death incarnate, but it's just bullshit. I hate it.
Well, basically, he sees.
Sound like I'm.
Go ahead.
Sorry, go on, Eric. Say what you said, because I might go on for a little while. So go say what you're going to say.
Well, like you said before, he's here to return life back to Zero World and basically say, all right, it's time to press reset, start over. It's not the end because I am eternal. Everything else is going to die, but I will go on. But so, go on to your point.
So this is going to ramble quite long, but I same as Dan, did a bit of research into this, and where I've been getting all these references back to. So there's two lines of two thought processes I'm going along here. The first one, the thing with Necron, through all those like allusions back to previous Final Fantasies, I found a bit that basically said there's a thematic parallelism. Thematic parallel, we'll say, between Kuja / Xandi and Necron / the Cloud of Darkness from Final Fantasy III. Both Kuja and Xandi fear their mortality, and both unintentionally perform globally perilous actions that lead both Necron and the Cloud of Darkness to enter into the mortal realm to revert the world to nothingness. Neither Necron nor Cloud of Darkness show up until the ending and appear as the final boss. The final boss theme accompanying these encounters is structurally similar. So one of the things with Necron that people say, and I agree, Dan, if this is the case, it's bullshit. It's kind of just they used it as a massive callback to the Cloud of Darkness of Final Fantasy III. Now, a bit more research I did into Necron. I looked onto a plot analysis FAQ that I found on GameFAQs.com by someone called Squall of Seed, and he goes into this. And he put an excerpt here from basically in January of 2018, Square Enix released the first of 3 20th anniversary Ultimanias looking at the Final Fantasy series as a whole. The first book, which is talking about character, offered the following information about Necron and nothing else. It just said, monster created by the fear of death. A being awoken by the fear, despair, and hatred of Kuja, who discovered with the fulfillment of his ambition near, they had little time left to live. It rejects the cycle of life through the crystal and attempts to return every world, including Terra and Gaia, to nothing, the final enemy to confront Zidane's team. So this Squall of Seed, he goes on to basically analyze that a little bit, and he puts that supposing the Necron is a cog in the cycle of souls of the Ifa tree, I imagine things happening in this way. He was built to divide them, to extinguish them, to sort them and replace them, but he would not have been built with the sentience and judgmental moral ability to choose his own actions. The tree was Garland's machine. Garland was operating it, but Garland dies. And perhaps a soul-cycling machine really is unique enough to be on some level conscious. After Garland dies and the tree keeps operating, and when Necron appears, if Necron is connected to the tree, then obviously the thing is on some level conscious. It has awoken and decided for itself that it will not sort souls anymore, but destroy them outright. That is what Kuja, and therefore humanity, presumably desires. It still isn't making its own choices, it's acting in accordance with someone else's wishes, but it's alive enough to make this motivational reversal.
I still think they just needed a final boss and just chucked him in there.
Yeah, I guess. But he goes on to use quote someone else, some web user called the Onion Knight, uses an explanation that kind of combines that with the bit from the Ultimania. Basically, thus we arrive at an explanation in which everything discussed up to now holds up to scrutiny, with the premise that Necron is a function existed within the Ifa tree prior to his appearance in the story, and his birth as an autonomous entity began with Kuja's nihilistic behaviour. Necron's role in the story is explained in a manner that resolves all loose ends related to the Ifa tree, while simultaneously incorporating the soul's scarce official information provided about Necron. So it's fan theory, a lot of it, and basing off a little bit from the Ultimania, and that makes me like it a little bit more, but you shouldn't need fan theory to enjoy a final boss of the game. You shouldn't have to dig that
much, really, should you?
No.
If you've just followed the plot of Final Fantasy IX, it's bullshit.
Yeah, the fact that its name's not even mentioned. I mean, I know I went on a little while there, but I thought that was just kind of an interesting
Apparently
look at
in the same Ultimania, Mike, they revealed through concept art that the original boss was meant to be Hades.
Oh yeah, we haven't mentioned Hades, have we?
No.
He was an optional
Hades
guardian.
is an optional boss in Memoria, who, if you beat him, opens up the best synthesis shop in the game.
Yeah.
Kind of late for that.
Yeah, that's the only other place you can get the Pumice to get Arc as well. If you don't,
can also
fight
get you can also get an item which extends the final scene. Oh no, the hammer. If you have your hammer, you can use the hammer to get Steiner's best armor, or you can keep it in your items and get a better scene at the end.
Yeah, it's not worth it though. No. What you actually get. So Necron as a final boss. I mean, I admit I was over leveled. I found it a piece of piss.
Yeah, it was not hard.
No, it wasn't hard for me either.
I wanted to call back to what I said earlier and on the last show about how you don't level much in this game and characters as a whole generally don't feel powerful. And I don't mean, to correct myself to what it sounded like on the last show, I don't mean that you feel underleveled compared to the bosses here. I mean that generally the numbers make these characters as a whole compared to characters on other games feel weak. So, example is, Necron here, 55,000 HP, okay? You go back to, and I just looked at this before we started the show today, you go back to Sephiroth, final Sephiroth, Safer Sephiroth on Final Fantasy VII. Now, there's some different things that affect his stats, his HP stats, but his base HP is 80,000. So you're talking, 25,000 more than Necron in here, and that's just its base. If there's certain bits and bobs that you do earlier in the game that can add more HP to Sephiroth. So Sephiroth, if you summon Knights of the Round with when facing Genova just before it, that gives him an extra 80,000 HP. He will have an extra 30,000 HP for every single character you have at level 99. So what is there, 7 or 8 characters in Final Fantasy VII? So he could have, that many times extra 30,000 HP. So you look at a game like Final Fantasy VII and look at the levels and the HP that these final bosses have, and then go back to Final Fantasy VII. The last boss is only 55. Yeah. These characters, they just feel weak to me. They always have done.
In Final Fantasy X, if you level your characters up to a certain point, you can do 99,999 damage per hit, and you can kill the last boss in one hit.
Jeez.
And this was my point that I was trying to make last time. They don't feel weak in relation to this game. They seem perfectly leveled. But compared to the other games where the stats come in, and because there's so little battling through this game, as we've noticed through playing it this time and analysing it the way that we do, it does make these characters feel weak. Like I've never ever thought of Zidane on the same level, and this is being a bit geeky and a bit nerdy. I've never ever thought of Zidane as a warrior, as someone in battle who is anywhere near like the level of, say, like Cloud or Squall.
No, but that's because Cloud and Squall were both warriors by nature before this. Zidane was just a ragtag back alley thief.
Oh yeah. But I mean, you take any of the characters from Final Fantasy IX and relate them to anything from Final Fantasy 7 and 8, for example, and they just don't. Look at Steiner. He is the warrior class of Final Fantasy 9, and then compare him to someone like, I know, Auron in Final Fantasy X.
Auron
Cran.
Okay, let's wrap this up.
We're going to have a good time with Final Fantasy X.
Dan's got to leave in like 18 minutes. So after this, you see a cutscene where the Aoife tree's roots are having a violent reaction and the mist is leaving. And you see all the airships up above with Beatrix and Cid, and Makoto calls to Cid saying, I can hear him. And Cid shows up in the Hildegard 3 and saves the entire crew. But you discover that... What's that?
Now then, just shows up. Now
then.
See? Full circle, guys.
Kuja, you get the impression that he's still alive, and he is still alive. Tells Zidane to leave, and Zidane starts going through this inner discussion with himself, like, you know what, I'm afraid I would have done the same thing as you had I been in your shoes, and I couldn't live with myself if I left Kuja, and everybody else wants to follow Zidane except for Amarant. Amarant's like, you're an idiot, I'm getting on this ship. And basically Dagger comes up and she's like, you know what, I'm now the princess, the abduction is over, and Zidane tells this to Dagger, and I can't take you any further, and I'm sorry for being selfish. And finally, they all come to terms with it, and Zidane or Dagger says to Zidane, "Thank you, please come back."
Then she waves at him from the airship very tenderly.
Yeah,
and then Zidane does a crazy thing. The Aoife tree's roots go nuts and start attacking him, and he runs
kind of like the
across
evil
them
forest.
in a really weird FMV, which also blends character models from the game. Which
It's a weird Matrix scene.
I was about to say I was a little disappointed by this. Like,
I know why.
Don't
didn't
get
they
me
just
wrong.
Do Zidane properly?
Yeah, I had a quick. Before we recorded today, I went onto YouTube and quickly just watched some bits from the ending because I watched it a few days ago. Just wanted to refresh myself. And the footage on YouTube that I watched was from the original version. Obviously, I played the remaster, and it looked okay on the remaster. But yeah, they're using that same character model from the main field, and it was just such a disappointment that they didn't go to the effort to make it a proper cutscene. But compared to watching it on the original PlayStation version, I mean, whoever recorded it onto YouTube had it in 16:9 like Dan, so that didn't help. But
it was me, Austin. It was me all along.
But yeah, it's such an important scene, and would have looked amazing if it was in the full rendered cutscene.
Yeah. Well, they have a little bit of a discussion too. Kuja says, "You know what? I'm useless to this world," and Zidane's like, "No one is useless. You technically helped us escape." And Kuja finally, at this point, realizes what it means to live. And he, despite what he may have done, he actually gave hope to the genomes who they were created for the wrong reason.
Crystal,
but he defeated their ultimate fate. And wants to make sure that
okay.
he lives on forever.
About half an hour.
Remind us that we're not created for the wrong reasons, and that life has meaning.
How long does it take?
And then begins the really long ending of the game. It's like 26 minutes or something ridiculous like that.
Yeah, it's got to wrap everything up though, doesn't it?
Yeah. You see Vivi in Alexandria. I thought that this game was going to like loop back because you see Vivi walking through and you discover it's not Vivi, it's his son. And he's just got an army of clones come running along with him. And
how does this happen? I don't understand.
No idea. But he's always... They go through all the characters in the game and they're kind of reflecting on their knowledge of Zidane because they assume that Zidane is dead. And
in between these scenes, there's somebody talking.
Yeah. And he's like, we're always talking about you. You taught us that life has meaning. And you see Freya and Frat Boy and reliving their love. And he doesn't recall the past still. And Beatrix surrenders. She surrenders her sword and steps away from the army.
Amarant walks up a road.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Brooding.
Queen is cooking in the castle again, proving my point at the start that she is in the castle at the start because it is the same person.
I suppose. Dagger has to move on.
Quinn seems to have learned that it's not just food, you have to cook it with heart for friends. Which is more than what Amarant got for closure.
Did you guys know that the person who's speaking is actually Vivi and he's actually died?
What?
Yeah.
Well, I was going to bring this up later because one of the questions we got later is questioning who's talking at the end. And using that same plot analysis I was using before from Squall of Seed, it's believed that the first half is Mikoto and the second half is Vivi. So the first lines, Akuja, what you did was wrong, but you gave us all one thing, hope. We were created for the wrong reason, but you alone defied our fate. We did not want to forget this. We want your memory to live on forever, to remind us that we were not created for the wrong reason, that our life has meaning.
That would make sense to be Makoto.
Yeah, and then...
It makes sense for Vivi as well, though.
Yeah,
no, because Kuja didn't create Vivi. Oh, wait, yeah, he did. Yeah, you're right.
And Mikoto's actually on screen at that point as well. And then you get to this next bit where it says, always talked about you, Zidane, how you're a very special person to us because you taught us all how important life is. You taught me that life doesn't last forever. That's why we have to help each other and live life to the fullest. Even if you say goodbye, you're always in our hearts, so I know we're not alone anymore. Why I was born, how I wanted to live, thanks for giving me time to think, to keep doing what your heart is set on. And it goes on like this, basically. And that's obviously the point where it's Vivi taking over. And this analysis goes on to kind of relay all these things and how it works. But there's another bit that goes to this. In the Japanese version of the script, Vivi uses the word boku in katakana as his word for I when referring to himself, the same as the second speaker from the game's ending. None of the other main characters do this. Zidane uses or, Freya, Mikoto, and Beatrix all use watashi. Quina uses watashi. Dagger also uses watashi, and Amaranth uses or as well. Iko refers to herself by her own name. Steiner uses jibun, and Kuja uses boku when he was in kanji form. He used it in the kanji form. So the second part of it uses the boku that Vivi did, whereas the first bit didn't.
I'm overwhelmed with facts.
I
know, right?
Did my research on this one, boys.
Woo!
Yeah.
So the last little bit, you see everybody watching Baku's play again, and it's sort of alluded to that it is a variation of I Want to Be Your Canary, but they've adjusted it to reflect the story of what just happened in the game.
There's one reference I really like where they say no squall, no cloud.
Yeah, I was going to mention that too.
Which is a reference, obviously, to 7 and 8.
Yeah.
But it all wraps up because the character on stage is in a cloak, and he's called Marcus, so you expect it to be Marcus. And
I called it straight away.
See, I didn't notice it. I had zero idea this was going to happen.
I didn't know when I was a child, but I don't now. So, and then the rope is thrown off, and Zidane is there, and he says, "Bring my garnet to me." And she runs through the crowd, and she hits him a bit, and then they have a hug, and it all ends.
Now then.
Now, at this point, if you left a name as Dagger, that line works a bit more in context of it, but I turned it back to Garnet as well.
Yeah. And that's Final Fantasy IX.
It is. Apart from the hidden blackjack bit at the end, but
Yeah.
We don't need that.
This hasn't really moved up a whole lot in my list. It definitely hasn't superseded 7 and 8, that's for sure.
No, I think I like them better, but
it didn't feel like a Final Fantasy game. This just felt like a really long interactive story with some Final Fantasy combat in there.
I disagree. I still think it stands alone as a Final Fantasy game.
I don't know. It's just so different.
It is, but they all are. They all try something different.
They do.
Not always a hit, but quite often are.
This, when we were playing this for the show, and I keep saying I've never finished this one before, so I'd never seen the end. I completely forgot about all the bits at the end of Disc 3 and when you find out what Zidane is and everything, because Dan even mentioned it in our WhatsApp chat. I was like, spoilers, I didn't know that. Turns out I did. But for me, when we were playing this, I was really excited to play this, really excited to finally finish it, but I got to about halfway through, and up until that half, I was like, you know what, this is amazing. This is definitely going to be, this is almost contending, that kind of second spot for me, because it's always gone 7 then 8 for me, and it was contending. It was a big contender, and then even though the plot kind of got very interesting with the whole terror and Zidane was a genome and all that stuff, it fell off on the wayside there for me. It really did.
I lost interest in the
almost
last
kind
half.
of. It kind of. I think it forgot what it was. It this is going to be a strange analogy, but it always it reminds me a little bit of how like the first 3 Pirates of the Caribbean films went, because the first one for me was always like a quaint little pirate story, and then the second one it started getting a bit fantastical, and then the third one they just completely forgot they were doing and just went all out batshit mental. And it almost went a little bit like that for me. It does feel like this quaint little, medieval story, all these quirky little characters and everything. And it had to get serious, don't get me wrong. But it just kind of went really left field for me.
I know. I think the whole terror subplot is a bit mad. It's like, because it's so jarring to have that medieval thing, and then kind of there's this whole other world with like advanced technology and stuff, and it's just strange. But yeah. That's Final Fantasy IX. I guess it is what it is.
Should we take some listener thoughts?
Yeah. The living meme himself. Dan C. Gilbert. It says, try selling to a gamer who has never played Final Fantasy IX in one sentence.
Try 8 first, then play 9.
Great. Love it.
love and enjoy disc 1 and 2, then possibly not disc 3 and 4 as much.
See, I thought yours would have been play it for the Chocobo side quest.
Nah.
See, it's not
I
that
like to mix
good.
It is good.
It's not.
It is. You didn't do it.
I would say play it for the story. Don't expect too much of an RPG.
We're not selling it well, are we?
No, I love this. I don't want to
good.
do it negatively.
It is
A
good.
really good game. Really enjoyed it, but it does have its flaws.
It just felt really tedious at the end.
Santos Lopez. Is Tom going to make it through the whole show this time, or does he bail after a few hours? Slacker.
Oh,
Well,
boy, he didn't
even
even
show
make it to this show. Poor Tom.
Dalton Sutor. Does anyone else think Ozma sounds like a VD? Like VD? Tom is going to get that Canadian Ozma. Right, Mark Marchesi. I can never pronounce your surname. I kind of go... Sorry. My fault. Anyway, for the serious angle now, the way the game explores all these characters searching in their own ways for their meaning in life is why this is my favourite main Final Fantasy. How each character varies, but all have unique answers they seek in their life. That also ties to the opening menu screen, how they all have a question and personal to them.
Oh, we all know about the opening menu screen.
The way the Final Fantasy designer Sakaguchi set the whole game up as a love fest and existential examination on what Final Fantasy was and would be onward. I thought it's always interesting how minor characters like Quina, Freya, and even Amarant have their own mental journeys beyond Zidane and Garnet's friends and people who you need matter. I am glad you gents are going the distance. I see it all as I am glad you gents are going the distance to see it all, as I think it surpassed 7 and 8 and was on par with 6. I wonder if 9 moved up anyone's Final Fantasy ranking list, though I'm sure Eric and Dan are firmly straddling the top choices of 8 and 7 respectively. I mean, we kind of touched on that. Yeah, I do love this game. I've loved this game this time more than I ever have, because this was always a bit of a black sheep for me. I said when we first started this, I do a lot about it I didn't enjoy, and it always put me off, and no, I've loved it this time.
I agree.
I've loved it again, but it doesn't go up the list for me, unfortunately. But I think the points he was making there about it being thematically about the characters and stuff like that, yes, it is at the first 2 discs, maybe the start of disc 3, but then, like I say, it really drops off, and it's all about this whole Terra subplot, and then all the bullshit about Memoria at the end. It just, if it kept the coherence all the way through, I think it could have been like fantastic. But for me, no, it doesn't beat 8 and 9.
Right, Dan, you've got 5 minutes left. Our next question is a big long one. Do you want to duck out before it or after it?
No, I'm good.
Okay, cool. Juliet Breslin Romano sent
You're going to read the whole thing?
A monster of a thing. I'm not going to read the whole thing, no.
Okay.
But I'm going to cut it up into several different questions. Okay? The first bit, I'll read the whole bit, because we have kind of touched on it. Oh, no, not the first bit. The first bit talks about who was talking at the end.
Yeah,
and that
we
was
covered
what I was gonna
that.
bring up. We did that, so that's good. That's a thing. Right, what are your favourite musical themes in the game? Mine are Melodies of Life, the final song, variant of that, what plays on the world map, Roses of May, which plays on Queen Brand's airship, the Bermesia theme, and Gizmaluke's grotto, Festival of the Hunt, Something to Protect, when you're saving Alexandria, the final battle. I'm not going to list all these, but she put the music in this game is truly exceptional. Additionally, are there any places you got sick of the music? Dan, I know you said you loved the Trino theme, but I definitely got sick of that one.
I get sick of that one real quick.
Yeah,
I love it. It's so good. It's so good.
It's good, but it gets annoying. I really
so
like the
good.
world map music on this, but
Yeah,
I'm kind of
world
partial
map.
to world map music in all Final Fantasies.
You're Not Alone is a fantastic piece of music.
that was going to be the next one I was going to bring up.
Kuja's final boss theme and Kuja's theme in general are fantastic.
I really like the Black Mage Village music as well.
Yeah, I think that's very good.
Little number. There is a section in Memoria at the end where they take the main Final Fantasy theme, you know, the do 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 do
Oh, the Crystal World. The Crystal
yeah,
World
that's
bit.
it. I couldn't remember what it's called, but they put it into a minor key. And it sounds amazing. Yeah, they switch it into a minor key, and it sounds really dark and mysterious, and not as upbeat and chipper. And I love that bit as well. That was a nice. Little
That's
touch.
really cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm no expert in music. That's what I think they did. That's what it sounds like they did to me. Also, Dan, I am glad you stuck around, because Juliet says a comment. I have to stand up for Mike and his use of the fast forwarding feature. Whilst I use it very scarcely, a comparison can be drawn to save stating. with that you feel you shouldn't use it because it's not authentic, but also you don't want to lose 5 hours of progress. She goes on to basically say about using her party, forgetting to change her party after using a chocobo and things like that. So yeah, screw you, Dan.
Sorry, Mike, I didn't listen. What?
Shut up. Shut up.
I don't listen to cheaters, I'm afraid.
This last bit, I will read the whole bit. She put, lastly, thank you all for choosing to do this game and for the large amount of time you put into playing and recording these wonderfully long episodes and all the fun interactions on the community page. It's been a blast playing along
Put your
with
teeth
you all.
in, man!
Put your teeth in! It's been a blast playing along with you all. I'm so sad I wasn't able to finish alongside you. And listening to these episodes has been a delight. Mike, I love that you looked up and referenced all the callbacks to the other Final Fantasies that are in this one. It was so cool. I didn't discover until relatively recently that this Final Fantasy was made as a callback to all the old Final Fantasies. It made it that much cooler playing through it again. It was amazing to have my favourite gaming podcast do my favourite RPG. And don't worry, Eric, FFA is a very close second. You're all awesome. Thank you very much.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Very
Julia.
kind.
We don't have any more questions on here, though.
No, that was it.
No. So you guys are going to be gone for the next 2 shows. No, next show.
One show. Next show, you are doing Nights into Dreams with Yomas, I believe.
Yes, and then after that, we are going to kindly play Bioshock.
Yes. Oh, by the way, Julia, if you are listening, you said about all those callbacks to the other Final Fantasies. After this show has gone out, I will put the link on the Facebook group that I was using for all of them so you can look and see all the others as well.
Right.
Hello?
Yeah, we got you.
We got you.
We heard it. What are you guys going to be playing in the time since then? Anything you're going to catch up on?
I think I'm going to finish God of War.
I'm going to play Neo and Hollow Knight.
I didn't talk at all about Octopath Traveler, but I think Tom and I will talk about that pretty heavily next show. You guys are going to friggin' love that game.
I played the demo.
Yeah.
I played as Therion, the thief, and it was good fun.
I've got the demo to play.
Yeah. You should buy it, Dan.
It's not even in the shops. I didn't see it yesterday. It's not there.
It's going to be right up your little street, that is. Right up your little Curtis Street.
Oh, yeah.
So, by the time...
They were struggling to stock it in stores in Japan, I think. Because the demand was that high.
By the time I'm on a show with you guys again, I will have been to Missouri with Chad and Zach for Chad's Mo Game Con.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, I'm not making it across for that.
Oh, God, it's going to be a shit show.
Live Facebook videos.
Oh, we will. I asked Chad how many vendors they're going to be selling used games, and he's like, about 60% of them. Oh, God. Bring more money.
Save some dollary dues.
Yep. So, all right, gentlemen. It's been a gas.
It's been lovely. We'll speak to you soon.
Thanks for sticking around, Dan.
No problem.
Now then, get the hell out of here.
Right, bye-bye.